So what you want to do is you're coupling these principles. This idea, well, what is knowledge? Knowledge. And what would be that? That means that something is accumulated, an accumulation of knowledge. Right? What does an accumulation of knowledge brings? A truth upon a truth. You know what I mean? How does that change everything? These ideas can be so abstract, and we spend our time making them concrete, looking at our daily lives and saying that, listen, throughout each month and each day, that's what we're doing though. We're adding knowledge to knowledge, you see? And really, if we think about it correctly, and now we're born that, the wisdom, the way that we use knowledge is also by coupling it. This actually relates to something that I was building on with King Kamal, and he was building on today's mathematics to me, right? Today, the same mathematics. And I asked him, let me see what I asked him exactly. I have it in my notes here.
So it could be like knowledge. So it would be like knowledge, born wisdom for today.
Knowledge, all being born to wisdom. Born wisdom. Right? And I said, how does one know they're in the state of knowing? You see? And sometimes you don't know that you're in the state. You're only in the state of knowing when other mathematics are present. You just are. But one of the ways that you can overtly know something, overtly know that you were knowing, is if that knowledge can be coupled with more knowledge. You see? And that would be knowledge. Or if that knowledge started to be used, wisdom. You see? So how do we know that we're in the state of knowing, though, would mean that whatever we are dealing with, though, we would have to prove it. Because we're all in the state of something regarding specific particular things. Right? So how would we know that? You know, and this is what I meant by that question. I don't know if King Kamal has gotten in quickly. Some people got in pretty quickly here. But you know, that's what I meant by that. Okay, this is weird.
I definitely see it like, you know, once you have knowledge, that knowledge is something that can be built off of.
Absolutely.
You know, so like if you have knowledge of even almost like you were saying about that science experiment, you know, it was off of previous knowledge that they had. You know, without that previous knowledge, they wouldn't be able to conduct those experiments. You know, it had to be based off of something.
Right.
So I feel like utilizing the knowledge that I do have to, you know, in search of more knowledge. I feel like knowledge is something that's always being accumulated. Information is always being accumulated. Mm-hmm. And by grasping that knowledge, you're then able to, you know, once you start utilizing it, that's the wisdom.
Right. You start using it, applying it, testing it. Right?
Right.
So a lot with the degrees, because there is no difference in the reality. There is no separation in real life between 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It is all a continuous thing. It is our perspective as we look back or look forward to plan things. We take things apart. But these realizations are so fused together that the state of knowing that you are knowing is in the wisdom, is in the accumulation of more knowledge upon the knowledge that you have. You see? It is why it's very important, though, to always make sure that we talk about knowledge as the foundation. It's so important to make sure that the foundation of what you get other knowledge with is correct. That's why I say one of the first things is always be making the next question. Because when you make a question, you are validating everything you think you know up to that point to make then the question, well, this is what I don't know. To formulate that question, you actually had to think of what you do know to put it into words. Because in some respect, you have to know somewhat of what you don't know. If you have no idea about what you don't know, you would never ask the question. You see what I'm saying?
Right. And that even takes knowledge too, like right. Knowledge of what you don't know.
Right. True self, peace. Okay. Peace to the earth, harmony, equality. All right. Thank you. Thank you for subscribing. Yeah, I just I've been meaning to make it for a while, but I made myself a Substack. I don't know if you ever heard of Substack, but Substack is basically it's basically like a blog, but Substack is different though. People pay for subscription, so if you pay this subscription, I give a lot of new exclusive articles and things like that. Talk about everything. So about music, about other things. So you could subscribe for free, but honestly, I share stuff everywhere for free. So if you're gonna think you're gonna see lots of stuff for free on my Substack, you're not, because I have websites where I share free hip hop articles. You know, I mean, I have the class. I mean, you know, there's a lot of forums where I give free stuff. So the Substack is something where I'm giving stuff that's real exclusive. You know what I mean?
You gotta let me get the link for that.
Yeah. So if you just look up Substack and then you go to Sunez, there's all Sunez Substack, you would find it.
And it's Substack on regular sub.
There's an app for Substack, or you can find it on the web. You know? SUBSTACK. You know, so it's not just hip hop exclusives and stuff. I'll be writing like musings about martial arts and stuff, old pieces that I don't know where they fit, or exclusives to future things that I'm going to come out with. You know what I'm saying? I have a lot of books that I'm working on, but I don't think they're finished right. So I hold them for a long time, and I have writings that go back 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
So, man, there's a lot of stuff, you know. And if I get people subscribing and stuff like that, it put the battery in my back to start transcribing old interviews that I have. I have a lot of them, like KRS-One, Tax Crew, you know, stuff like that. A lot of old stuff that I never transcribed and stuff, you know.
And that's SUV. STA.
SUB.
Oh, SUB.
Sub, like sub.
Right.
Substack. Yeah. There's an app for that and all that kind of shit. You know what I mean? But yeah. All right. Kids are Quaco. Peace. All right. I'm glad that you caught it. Supreme Scientist. All right. I appreciate that. Peace to God. You know? Yeah, by the way, as we're speaking, since we're speaking about good materials and we talk about all these things that are free or not free, because I'm not giving jewels on the Substack. You gotta pay for that shit. You know? But I've been on the show, what was it? I think I've been interviewed on the God show 3 times. Yeah, 3 times. The Why's the Dome podcast. That's on YouTube or Spotify or I think it's on Apple. I don't have Apple, but I know it's on Spotify, so it makes it easy to listen to now because I can listen while I train and everything like that. You know what I mean? Because when it's on YouTube, you know, you can't really like do anything. You know what I mean? Like, I touch the phone, distracted. Yeah, and I'm looking at Spotify. I could just, you know, because when I do my strength training, all I see is my clock. That's why I have my clock. You know, and everything has to be timed. You know what I mean? If I go over, I fucked up. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, they were asking me what the Substack, so I just made that. You know what I'm saying? But that's exclusives and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Little exclusives too from books I've written to see. Some people, not everybody obviously has bought my books or know about them, so I throw little things in there.
Oh, but you're very known now. You're very known. People know exactly who you are.
Oh, I wish that translated fiscally though.
Right.
Yeah. You know, as a journalist, though, I always feel like, you know, Frank White, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because I wrote about everybody and I helped. I'm not going to say I made everybody the money that they earned, but I guarantee you that I made a lot of people a lot of money writing about them.
Right.
You know what I mean? You know, so like when I start sharing stuff, I feel like that all the time. It's my turn. You guys got fat. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'll be like that all the time. But you know, it's hard. It's hard because it's different. You know what I'm saying? You can have opposing views as an artist, let's say, and if the music is appealing to people, it just somehow hits. Let's say if it's, you know, good quality, like the rare time it hits, and you could be saying all types of crazy shit, it'll still hit though. You know, when you're writing something, you know, it's kind of naked though. I can't throw a beat on that piece. You know what I'm saying? So if it disagrees or agrees with anyone, it's a problem. Peace, God. And so you know, I just do my best with that. You know what I'm saying? But I think that honestly, yeah. So yeah. So you know, I don't think anybody would have a problem.
Okay, when I get my show rocking, you really gotta come through, man. You hook that all up. You introduce me to the God.
No, that's Pete. Yeah,
Yo, he welcomed me.
Yeah,
Yo, he
that's my
welcomed
brother.
me right. Yo, he welcomed me right. And once I said I came from Sunez, oh, he welcomed me right.
Yeah.
He welcomed me right. And I've been with him. I've been out there every week. I'm going out there after class. I'm going out there to build with him.
Yeah,
He's a really, really, really positive spirit, man.
Yeah.
Really good dude. And like you said, master builder.
When we talk about the major underground ciphers, like in this invisible renaissance for like shows,
he said that y'all build, y'all. He said the shit y'all talk about is crazy, and then like y'all builds. He said y'all are very at odds when it comes to certain music though, and that's what make y'all builds really.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Really. But we are, everybody's always gonna have an issue with me with music on some level, because I don't always go for the functionality of music.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So if a song moves, like it makes me dance and shit, though, I'll still tell you that it's a piece of shit song.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So my loins have nothing to do with my choices as far as the music. So, or the way I relate to music. You know what I mean? So like somebody can make a trap song and they just talk about kung fu stuff. They're like, oh, I do that. Right. Oh, that's so dope. You see how that sounds?
Right.
That's the same thing that people do. You know what I'm saying? Or it's the same thing. This song is I want that pussy. And it's like, yo, I want that too.
Right.
I love this song. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing. You know, so like when pop music is always popping because it talks about more basic things,
right, the shit
which includes everybody. You know what I'm saying? Right? You know, yeah. Like I asked my little one, like I'll ask her, like, why do you like that song? It's like, oh, it's just like something like, oh, because they're singing about, I don't know, rainbows and stuff like that. I like rainbows. You know what I'm saying? I don't go to my daughter and go, that's weak. That's weak. You know what I mean? Rainbows. You know, everybody deals with fucking rainbows. No, I'm not doing that. But that's the essence of like music. Like it has to relate to people.
I know one thing y'all disagreed on that we spoke about that. I agree with
Let me guess.
What's that?
Tribe Called
Quest. No. He said that the third album was their worst album. I said,
Midnight Marauders.
I said, that is the best album
I've never
made.
He's gone.
I said, that's the best album ever made. I said, the first album should have got 4 mics.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the first album.
Yeah.
I like it.
That's why I said it's
I like it in retrospect because I love the group.
And there's certain things, they got certain songs in that straight
but
classic. But as a whole, that album, I'm skipping a bunch of shit on it.
Yeah.
But the second and the third, masterpieces.
You know what's interesting? The reasons that he gives are not off. For him, it's a simpler record.
Right.
Let's say than Low End Theory.
He said, right, he did.
It's a more poppier sound, and we're gauging a Tribe Called Quest level pop, not puffy pop.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
But I likened it to with him. I told him it's like comparing Illadelph Half-Life to the next album, Things Fall Apart. Things Fall Apart has more of a commercial feel, right? You got Erykah Badu on the song, right?
Illadelph was a classic.
Right? But they're both classic albums. Let's keep it real. Both Things Fall Apart and Illadelph. But Illadelph is the grimy record. Illadelph is the grimy record. You know what I'm saying? And even by the way, fun fact, I love that Questlove shared. That's the only record. I think that's the only one he did that with. The only one I heard he did that with, because he always opens up about High Nixon records. I never heard it about the other records, but I know on that record, Illadelph, he sampled his own drums, so he was able to kind of filter them like the way beat miners were doing and shit like that. So there's no reason why it's a little bit of a grimier album. Plus, there's more bars. There's literally more bars. Whereas Things Fall Apart has more song structure. Like the hooks are more blatant. Like they have more hooks, and I don't mean pop hooks, but like hooks. Like it has hooks. Like it has sung choruses, things like that. You know what I'm saying? And they've been kind of going for that blend of what Things Fall Apart is, as opposed to what Illadelph is. You know what I'm saying? Right. But for him to say the record is horrible, though, it's just.
I've
never heard that take though. But because what the reason I respect it is I never said, oh, he's a stupid idiot.
Right. Oh, no,
I never said that because the God actually gave like
He did.
a real
His
good
reason why he
pitch.
said he didn't like that album, I actually
Because the
understood.
reasons that he gave were the reasons why I think it's different than
Right.
knowing theory. So I'm like, okay, but those reasons make it bad for you, then that's okay because so I'm okay with that. Even when I write in journalism, I'm not trying to get people to listen to what I listen to.
Right.
I'm trying to get them to understand my bias so that when I analyze things, they can say, well, he has bias toward this, but he also talked about this record, and I like records like that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So everybody can pick and choose. Because like if I wrote about 100 records, I don't like them all the same.
Right,
There's no way I could like them all exactly the same. Who would like them like that? Or think that they're all on the same level of quality.
Right.
But
the
God is a musical mind, and you know what? He's great with people. I was telling him, his 6 degrees of separation are impeccable.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So like, there's like 3, 4, 5 people that he knows that'll get to someone else that he knows. Like he knows everybody.
He really is, He really is a different kind of dude, and he's really all about.
And we're talking about GMAT, of S Street Media, where I did really my first 100 shows of the Power Right Show with,
Right.
And I haven't done the Power Right Show because I haven't had the time to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot to schedule the artists and everything. Like I do, and at the same time, I have the buffer of doing Toshi's interviews, and that kind of gets me lazy on that level because he does all that himself. I'll sometimes call up people like I did Ty Farris. I contacted him, but the hard part about Toshi Show is that I don't pick usually. So if there's somebody that I don't think would make great conversation, I have to really work hard to find a conversation,
right?
Which is a good exercise in itself. Unless I tell them like, this guy sucks. But nobody that you heard, like I didn't interview anybody I thought was horrible. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But some people like you're like, I don't know what to talk about. I don't know what quotables he has.
Right.
Because sometimes you can listen to a record that's good and has no quotables.
Mm-hmm.
That happens a lot. But
when you say quotables, you mean like
like if you go bar for bar, like what would you say? Like like most hip hop that's good. I'm not talking about bad. Most hip hop that's good doesn't have quotables. I know it's a hot take, but it's true. And no one's gonna tell me no because I've heard all of these albums. But most of these records don't have quotable bars like that. And I mean quotables like where you go, I never heard nobody say that and say it that way. Most of the time, people think of quotable as just something that I never heard. He said it really dope. Like for me, let's keep on with the hot takes and just ban myself from everything hip hop. I don't think Benny the Butcher is a great lyricist like that, right? But he says things really well, right? A lot of his best lines he'll say it's because he's saying it very well, but it's not something someone else can't construct,
right?
And some of his lesser albums, I felt like I could write them too, and I wasn't on the block. Piece of shit,
right?
You know what I mean? So it's more about how people say stuff. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So that's what I mean by quotables, because I'm writing it in as a review. That shit looks horrible on paper.
Right.
You write this shit out, it doesn't. You realize how you said that shit. Right. It doesn't read that good. And then imagine if I quoted back to them. Remember when you said I kill everybody, and that was the bar. that right? I embarrass myself. I'm embarrassed asking that shit. But yeah, God, whenever you're ready for the show, let me know.
Yeah, I'm waiting for
we'll set up that date.
No doubt. I gotta wait for my man because my man is a teacher. So and then he do the hip hop art shit. So I gotta wait.
Right. Yeah.
Whenever I just texted him before I got. I said whenever you're ready. I said it's paid for. So whenever ready to start. So
that's peace.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I see you got an interview on Bebox coming up too, right?
Yeah. Yes. Saturday night. I'm gonna go to Beef. I've been there. I've been interviewed there before. Okay. Years ago. Maybe 2019 something like that. Okay. And I've interviewed Skanks multiple times. I love Skanks.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Good dude.
And he let me. I got to be on one of his songs, and he let me speak for days. I didn't even that was the beginning. I didn't even count how long I was going and shit. Because it wasn't really bars. My poetry's not really bars like that. So, but if it was bars, I definitely went a little cannabis, you know what I'm saying? I definitely overdosed, you know what I mean? Went like 50 on there, you know what I'm saying? But he was like, wow, great.
You know, like Jay-Z rap for 8 minutes. Nonsense.
Do you have like a technique for your interview? Or you just like go in there and just...
You know, the reason people they'll like my interviews or they're worthwhile is because I'm not using the model of other hip hop interviewers and journalists are not a model I've ever subscribed to. I learned nothing about interviews from journalists in hip hop. They're not my model. They're actual real like journalists of news, hard news. Like I always like Juan Gonzalez. You know what I'm saying? His interviews are based on his knowledge. Like so he has such an in-depth knowledge of the subject that he'll bring out things they didn't realize that people knew about them. You know what I'm saying? And they'll be worthwhile to cause conversation, not controversy. You know what I'm saying? Like I remember this. Like it was a musician, but he interviewed Willie Nelson once, right? But it shows the history jewels. That's how I used it. It's music to talk about music. But he interviewed Willie Nelson, right? And he asked Willie Nelson about where he grew up. I forgot where he grew up, but he was around the Mexican community, and how did that impact his playing? And he basically, right, because the Mexicans are the official guitar, you know what I'm saying? And when you hear Spanish boleros, like boleros, ballads, you know, Mexico is the top of the top of the top. You know what I'm saying? After that, you would say the Cuban bolero. You know what I'm saying? And everything else really sprouts from those two branches. You know what I'm saying? Doesn't mean that there's not great bolero singers from other places and stuff, but it's just like the style of bolero. Like those are the real branches, you know. Right? But and he asked him that, and he actually said yes, and he started to talk. Willie Nelson started to talk about how all of the guitar, you know, type of playing that goes with country music. A lot of it originated not just with, you know, African Americans from the blues and before with the banjo, because you know the banjo is an African instrument, but also with the way the Mexicans were playing the guitar. And he started to talk about the kind of rhythms and stuff that he was getting from the Mexicans, you know. So you know what I mean?
It makes a lot of sense. You hear some of his early, you hear that guitar.
Right. You know what I mean? And it was interesting because you have to know if the person will answer to that question. Because, you know, whites, they like to hide their shit.
Right.
They don't like to tell you, you know what I'm saying? They don't like to tell the truth, you know what I'm saying? Peace, God.
Peace to God.
But in this case, he did. But Juan Gonzalez, little quick history. He was a young lord, right? Part of the Young Lords Party, right?
Mm-hmm.
He had an Ivy League education, has an Ivy League because he's still alive, right? And he is also the often co-host of Democracy Now!, which is like more of a leftist, you know, more of a left-wing news show. So they have quality news. I don't agree with everything or every angle. They was completely wrong about the whole vaccine shit. But generally, they have good stuff. But Juan Gonzalez is great. He has a lot of books too. I mentioned that book, News for All the People, where he wrote a whole history book about the history of news and how that relates to us, original, Black, brown, Native American, right? Everything. And in America. And that had great history. Great history book. You know what I'm saying? I have all of his books digitally if you ever want to have them.
I definitely
Yeah.
so, you have any tips as far as like learning things faster? Because I know you said something about listening to things.
Yeah. You know, I'll tell you something about interview notes too. I'm not gonna forget that. But I was much younger, just starting out. Like this, like maybe I'm like in my mid-20s and stuff, and I actually saw Juan Gonzalez. And I was working at P.E.A.C.E, but it was a day that he wasn't on.
The WBAI?
Yeah.
I used to work there.
Yeah. You know, I was in a show called Latino Journal, and I worked as an intern, but then I also was production associate, so I was able to get on the air like a couple of times, right? And one day I'm just walking that area, downtown Wall Street area, which is where the station is, and I see Juan Gonzalez. Now I've seen everybody, Cool G Rap, Killer Priest by then, Care, all these people, interviewed a lot of them, right? I can't get myself to say peace to Juan Gonzalez. And I'm just rationalizing, that's not him. But it was him. You know what I'm saying? It's funny that I got awestruck because, you know, he's a revolutionary, the Young Lords, all that kind of shit. You You know what I mean? He's smart. Like he's a journalist that I look up to, and I didn't say anything. It's crazy. You know what I mean? And then another time, the other young lord, Felipe Luciano, I saw him on a train. And I was with my daughter when she was my youngest daughter when she was really young. And I was like, nah, we're not gonna miss this. But the one train was so crowded, I couldn't get to the other side and he got off. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't want to like just take my kid who was like 4, and just start running around chasing him and shit. You know what I mean? But these are all great young lords who became journalists, all kinds of. Omit Geraldo Rivera from that list, though. But he also is one of them as well, who was a young lord, great education. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the rebels, they were all young lords. They were all young lords, and they're all Puerto Rican. Mm-hmm. And what's interesting is that it symbolizes a lot of movements come from an intellectual sector, and that's why they stopped the universities from having like very black and brown studies programs and stuff like that. It became a thing. This is why a lot of reasons why it was easier for me to get the knowledge of, because I was radicalized. My professor that taught me, my mentor in college, Dr. David Traverso, first Puerto Rican man I ever met who had a PhD, and I found out later he had 7 masters.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? In all types of things, because he became a bishop, right, in church. So he had like masters in like theology, Christian religions of all types, all kinds of shit. And yet I was becoming a 5%. And that shit, I still know him to this day. And that shit never got in the way. He was just like, yo, you gotta study what you see. That's what made me this type of teacher of letting a student become what they're gonna become. Of course, I don't want to teach fucking Hitler, but like you let them become what they're gonna be, what they're gonna be. You give them the forms. You know what I'm saying? And it was because of him I wrote my first paper about hip hop music and spirituality. And there's a picture, it's a very old picture. He put me to speak at the Muévete conference when I was in college, and I did a lecture about spirituality and hip hop. And on that board, when they took the picture, I was 85. Mm. On the board was written 5%. So that shit, you know what I'm saying? I didn't think anything of it though, but it was always on my mind to get that knowledge, you know what I'm saying? And the paper was a way of trying to analyze what I was hearing and shit like that, you know what I'm saying? But one thing about the mind, right? When we talk about learning and stuff like that, like look at people like that I respect, like Juan Gonzalez, great interviews, Gil Noble, you know what I'm saying? Look up Gil Noble, you know what I'm saying? I forgot the name of the show, but I heard that name.
Which Channel 7, right?
Right.
Like It Is.
Yeah, Like It Is. Thank you. Right.
I just look at it every. He
wrote an autobiography, and it's out of print. Again, another book I should have stolen from the library, but I read it, and it's out of print. So I did a search for it recently, and I didn't even find like the existence of the book. But one of the great journalists, he was interviewing Ivan Van Sertima. He, all of the black professors.
You're really into journalism, because if you know who Gil Noble is, that dude for real.
And then others that people know now, like I love the way Tavis Smiley does it. He's great. You know what I'm saying?
He did it on Prince.
And you see how there's such a broad variety of people, but he seems to know how to have a conversational tone, but also hit him with real questions. And he's able to do it in short amounts of time, but also in extended form. Right. So I've always studied these things, So those are really my influences, people like that, you know what I'm saying? But not anybody that was doing, not because there were shitty viewers and journalists in hip hop, but because I wasn't looking to them. I wanted to be different. So I came from a different angle, you know what I'm saying? And since I was studying to learn more about other type of genres, then I'm reading interviews and things from other scholars in those other genres. Mm-hmm. So I'm more focused on like Amiri Baraka is really my blueprint guy. You know what I'm saying? Someone who covered jazz, but was jazz. Maybe. Amiri, A-M-I-R-I, Baraka, one of the great poets, writers, music historians, everything. You know what I'm saying? He even did an album. That's why when King Kamon had me do my album, I was like, well, shit, Amiri Baraka did it, I gotta get it. Even though I was nervous in the beginning, I was like, you know what? I gotta try it. You know what I mean?
So that album, that's your first album?
Yeah. I tell you, it's the first time I ever rhymed, period.
Wow.
I never, ever wrote a rhyme.
Well, it sounds like you speaking poetry while he's rapping, then you come with poetry. That's what it seemed like to me.
Yeah, it wasn't like that on design. I just did what felt comfortable. What felt comfortable, what I was writing and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So most of the stuff in there rhyme. The only song that doesn't really rhyme is 9,000 Miles. But everything else really rhymes. It's just the way I.
What made you decide to do that with him?
That was the God. King Kamal, like he was asking me, he'd love to do a song with me because I've been on a lot of songs. Right. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, okay, and we did that one, and that was like the best song I've ever done. So he was like, yo, we got to do an album and stuff like that. He kept saying, like, we should. And it's like, you know what, God? Yeah, let's do it, God. If you ever, get the beats and all that. And then one day, he just had all the beats. Right. And he just kept flooding my inboxes. Yo, God, he didn't give me a chance to say no. He was like, yo, God, this is a song I just did. It's about this, so you got something, and then I would have to do it. You know what I'm saying? Okay. And that's what happened. But, yeah, King, come on, man. He threw me in the booth. You know what I'm saying?
It came out good.
Yeah, thank you. But the mind, God, is infinite, and you should test it before you worry about it. You see what I'm saying? So, like when you're worried about memorizing stuff, I would say don't worry about it. Just keep repeating stuff. Right. Just like every song could get in your head, keep repeating stuff. Right. Use cues. Is there like songs that you like music that you like that you hear often that has like a good repeat response? Like you just listen to it all the time, right? Like for me, it could be my Miles ballads or my soul classics list, like, anything like that. My Phyllis Hyman ballads, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And I'll just have that giving me a flow, and I'll just keep reading the degrees, then quoting, reading degrees, and testing and trying to take from two places. One, immediate, right? Immediate memory, short-term memory, and then testing later for long-term memory. You know what I'm saying? So like the whole day, you'd be like, knowledge, wisdom, understanding. You go through the math, right? And then let it go. Then later in the day, you try to test yourself again. You see if it's in long-term memory.
You know what I did? I did it on my hands like a little kid. I did knowledge, wisdom, understand. Like I did it up to 7, so I know 7 is God, and I know it's born, build, born, and cipher. That's how I would do it, because I knew the last 3 was build, born, and cipher, so that I would, I did some little kid shit, and then I would keep doing that over and over and over again.
Yeah, that whatever works, right? And also associating your ideas with it. And that's why I say have you write down what you think they mean, but also if you get stuck, your questions. So if you can't figure out like a build for a degree, this means the mathematics, alphabet, or any of the lessons when you get to them. Well, what is it that you don't get about them? What particular part stumps you? You write the whole thing in your journal, like the whole thing. You know what I'm saying?
Rio, I'll be with Rio, and Rio been checking me in, and I'll be with math. They asked like it was today. They checked me. Rio be like, yo, so what you mean was build on it, and I know they be on me.
Right. That's how we do it. That's how we do it. All right, let's see who's here. Indigo, peace. All right. Self I build, peace, God. If anybody has any questions here, let me know. Okay. Let me know. I want to answer everybody's questions here and stuff. When I did all type of tests, so I understand the value of rest. I also understand my highs and lows and when to shift. I have a good sense of getting myself out of ruts by switching. You know what I'm saying? Switching before I get lazy, get lackadaisical with something. You know what I mean? So I'll be reading something, and it doesn't have to be completed. I go as long as I can at peak form. And when I'll start noticing when my peak is not there, doesn't mean I'll finish reading. It means I'll switch to something else to read. If I still want to get more reading in. You know what I'm saying? I do stuff like this. But when I was in my 20s and got the knowledge, I would test myself. So I did all types of crazy things. I did things where I would say, listen, I'm gonna break night and read the entire night.
I tried that and I pass out.
You know what I mean? And I did it too. I did it too. And by the time the sunrise came, though, I was high as hell.
Mhm.
I went high. I was like, woo! You know what I'm saying? And I had read about 200 pages overnight because the only way to continue without falling asleep was to go hard and faster. And so when you read faster, you immediately start to get more of a sense of what you're reading and get a flow. That's why I said, listen, if you're reading digitally, right? Read as fast as you can. Highlight things that you're not getting or you want to remember as quickly as you can and continue reading. Never stop your flow. You know what I'm saying? Never stop your flow. You know? This is why everything for me is musical. So I often listen to music that is very, doesn't have to be fast paced, but it has to be of a consistent, good tempo. You know what I mean? So a lot of soul jazz often does it for me. That's why I'm obsessed with organ jazz. Obviously salsa has such a consistent rhythm. You know what I'm saying? You know, a lot of certain funk music, obviously. You know what I'm saying? But I will say though, I always get disappointed though with funk after 1976.
After 1976.
I start to get upset. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I would love to
Why is
hear
that?
some of your builds, or if you have any essays on like some soul stuff, or even like.
I'm writing a book about
Day.
other music and ideas. You know what I'm saying? So I have a lot to say. You know what I mean? I think soul music wise, and I'll include funk in that, all of that. I think What's Going On is the greatest album.
Yeah. Oh man, I gotta hear your take on that.
Yeah,
I listen to that consistently.
it's a perfect album.
What's that?
What's Going On?
What's Going On?
Oh.
album.
What's Going On album?
There's only certain albums, like there's certain albums that is like monuments and all that. That's one of them.
Yeah.
I think Thriller is one of them. I like Thriller.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Off the Wall is another.
Yeah. You know what's crazy? Everybody always says Off the Wall is better. I don't argue that. I'm okay with that. I don't really listen to Michael trying to think if Off the Wall is better. It's more soulful. So
Right.
I think
that's
it's going to
it
be
is.
better. You know what I'm saying?
But, I learned that album sold like 7 million copies. And he crossed over right
You know what
after
I've been noticing recently? A lot of this is really AP the Overlord's fault because he started doing the Michael Jackson album, so he's just sampling Michael Jackson shit,
Okay.
and it's dope. But and his album cover used the same type of drawings as Dangerous, but that album was really dope.
Dangerous?
Yeah, that was,
I didn't realize until like later on.
Dangerous
Yeah.
is good.
like when I was a kid, that came out when I was in high school, and it was all hip hop for me. So any type of beat that is not rugged, I was like, that's some bullshit. I didn't appreciate anything if it
Michael
wasn't
Jackson
hard,
had dope
fucking
ass
core.
beats.
You know what I'm saying?
Jackson had dope
When did that come out?
In the 90s.
Yeah. So like a lot of times the palate of a younger listener is always rigid to what they like the best. And that's how pop music sells things to them. So for me, when I was a kid, my palate was to the most hardest and most serious music. So I liked stuff like Cypress Hill's Black Sunday,
That's what classic. I love
Into
that.
the 36. That was like the standard hardcore. Black Moon's Into the States, like that kind of infamous. You know, that's the standard. Cuban Links. But if it was salsa, it had to be like up tempo, intense. So you know, like Eddie Palmieri at the most intense peaks. You know, Revolt. You know, Vámonos pa'l Monte, the real up tempo. But then I started to get older and I started to realize that there are classics so in the other tempos, the other details. You know, so I was really like with non-hip hop music, it was either ballad, it's gotta be a ballad or it's gotta be hardcore hip hop. I had no in between. You know what I'm saying? All fast and mid-tempo soul songs.
So you like slow songs? You like slow songs?
I think if anybody, well, women know that more. Women really know that. Women that are with me, they be thinking I listen to hip hop all day.
I love slow.
They're just hearing slow jams with me all day.
So that really, I noticed that a lot of people that like hardcore hip hop love slow.
Yeah.
songs.
I judge all soul singers by the quality of the ballads. So.
Mhm. Yes, sir. All right.
I gotta hear that.
I gotta hear your slow songs. If your slow songs.
So remember in the '90s though, the albums like Jodeci,
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember anything from A-side.
Right.
I skipped the whole A-side every time.
No, I thought I was the only one. Like R. Kelly album,
Nah.
I would only buy them.
Side-
Was
it side A? Right, the side B was the slow jam.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
Side A has no words.
I thought I was the only one like that.
Side A.
Mm.
No.
You said you mentioned Phyllis Hyman. I mean, she's like
Oh my God, that's
champion
oh my
of
God.
the
Go ahead.
Yeah. That's my favorite all time.
I
I love
know
Phyllis
her vocal teacher.
Yeah.
I love Phyllis.
You know, where I started to really appreciate the more mid-tempo is actually what my other favorite, second favorite is Anita Baker. Because not everything is a pure ballad with her.
Right.
A lot of her stuff is mid-tempo.
Right.
And what's the name of that album? The second, not the second album, Anita Baker.
Please.
He's looking all athletic right now.
Working out and shit.
Because everybody has like the favorite Anita Baker album, and they always say Rapture, you know, and it has You Bring Me Joy, so I'll never argue with them. I saw her do that song live, and it just melted me.
You saw that? Really saw it?
I saw it at Radio City. Yeah, you know what I mean. These baby mamas, they got treated to shit. I'm saying, like,
I was working out.
they got treated to things.
Big song I never heard before. I was like,
Yeah.
Is she going back? Is she going back on tour?
I love Anita Baker, but my favorite album from Anita Baker is Compositions.
Compositions?
That's a beautiful, beautiful album, and there's a lot of except for what was it? There was one song that was a hit that was more upper mid tempo, Fairy Tales. But all the others are like this mid to ballad tempo, but they're all love songs. You know, I love Anita Baker. You know that Anita Baker, fun fact. Remember, I said this to somebody last, that Hector Lavoe has only 2 songs this whole catalog that are positive about women.
yeah, I remember you saying that. So,
Anita Baker only has 1 song in her catalog that is really negative toward men, and I don't know what it is because I deleted it. So
She got a misandrist song.
Yeah, like it's not positive to men. Like you did me wrong, this and that. I didn't keep it in my collection. It was a good song, but I didn't keep it. I said I don't need Anita Baker for that. I need, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I'm big on Anita Baker too, man. You know what I mean? But yeah, this is what most of the stuff I write is not written to hip hop, or break beats. You know what I mean? It's to soul music. You know? Right? Soul music and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. What do we have here? All right, let's see. You said, wow, kids, you said you strive to read 100 pages a day and shadowbox 12 rounds per day. So how long are those rounds that you shadowbox?
Yeah, I need to get back into my exercise.
Oh, I like that, though. Malik, you said giving you the best that I got. Yeah. Oh, man.
Well, I started running.
It's in the Scott and Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix. Yeah, very dope. Very dope. Coltrane, Chopin. This is a nice add-on. Yeah. This is a nice collection here. By the way, everybody loves Earth, Wind, and Fire, though, but I love Earth, Wind, and Fire only up to like 75. You know, after that, it's selections. You know, they get too disco-y.
Right, yeah.
If they get too disco-y, I listen to it. I try to, like, oh, it's dance music. As soon as you're happy, but then I don't like it. Yeah. Like Fatback Band. Did you ever? I have their whole collection. I'll shuffle everything just so I can have heard everything. And every time they give me an old disco-y one, I'm like, I have a little bit of, you know? But it's all good, though. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you know what I do with this modern era music now, because, you know, now I'm extra grown and I see that the internet, you can just go and, you know, seek for what you want. I listen to blends, you know, it's like I take like the, like I give you a prime example, the Nas joints where he dropped a few consistent whack albums, but the lyrics are good, the beats is whack. Yo, they got those lyrics, the Cuban Link beats. They got those lyrics that Supreme Clientele.
Yeah, because his albums do a lot of acapellas, right? Like, yeah.
The whack albums, they are the best acapellas.
You know what though, with Nas though, just because he's such a great MC, I actually listen to most of his, almost everything.
Right. Even
if the beat is not so great, because the thing about Nas, right, is that he makes no mistakes. Never makes a mistake rhyming them. Like, listen to Nas though. He doesn't take adventure. He's not adventurous. Like, I'll give the most extreme adventure, if I have to pick one, if somebody put me on the spot to say most athletic MC I've ever heard, I would say Pharoah Monch.
Okay.
Like, as far as he does everything athletic, if you do all types of things on it. Nas doesn't do shit like that. But everything that he does, he never makes a mistake, you know? That's why on that one album where he almost makes mistakes, the one he did with Kanye, there are blemishes there as far as flow and tempo that they feel like they weren't Like he didn't rhyme to them.
That shit was
I would even gamble that he might not have. You know what I'm saying?
Well, the funny shit is now, Sunez, this break a lot of people's heart. He ain't been writing all that shit lately.
Nah,
I was thinking that, but I ain't want to put it out.
Nah. The sources for that.
God. Check it out, God. I'm gonna give you a few that I know, and then one that I seen that was a fact. I know for that nigga album, there's quite a few reference tracks recorded by Stickman and Jay Electronica. I didn't hear them myself, but a couple people heard them and it got circled around. So, but one thing I do, but then one time I got contacted because I got approached before, and they were telling me that they can make me a superstar if they let me allow them to write my rhymes for me. And I got offended. My fans got offended, so we started attacking their pages. These people that were saying they wanted to write my rhymes started throwing out who they write for. They said they wrote the message for Nas. Okay, cool. That was another time. But then recently on Vlad TV, that kid Bryson, whatever name,
right.
He went on Vlad and said that Vlad asked him like, yo, I see that you're credited on King's Disease 3 for writing. I said, he said, you want to speak on it? He said, I don't want to get too in depth on it, but
it's not a ghostwriter if he's listed. You know what I'm saying?
God. Nas, if anybody's name is on it with you, you gotta explain that. Not you. You know what I'm saying? That has to be explained.
I don't think
what
so.
If it's one line?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Because
listen, you my man. Listen, you my man. You give me a concept, it's a concept. You give me a line, and flip it. How is your name?
Because it's business.
No.
If Kanye get an idea from something,
I'm gonna tell you this though, right?
Jadakiss come first album.
Right.
On Jadakiss.
But we're talking about almost 400 songs here. You know what I'm saying? And even the albums you said, there's a consistency that really is unique to him.
Yeah.
So like that's why I can't really. You know what I'm saying?
But I know. I heard a few people behind it, but then once I seen that Bryson get girl on Vlad and admit that he's on, I'm like, yo, so what is really going on? Because I know for a fact.
You know what's another reason why I don't go too far with that? Because Nas's songs don't have pop appeal. So you wouldn't, record labels wouldn't hire people to write you stuff that has,
no pop
in the end, the same non-pop appeal that Nas was already giving you. So you got a ghostwriter to write lyrical shit for me. Like, that's not really necessary. You know what I mean? And then even in the shit, like, I'm going to say this though, right? And this shouldn't really be a diss, but like, the shit that Nas was saying on the Untitled album, Stick don't have nothing like that. Stick's never said anything like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's the same argument. I had this discussion with GMAT about Supreme Clientele. And they always say that about Superb,
right?
You know? Whereas Superb, though, there's a lot of techniques of vocal stylings, though, that influence. The shit that Ghost was saying, though, if you compare them, even in the songs I had, people confuse the dynamic stylings that he had of inflection and the punchlines. Like the Magic Johnson punchline and shit like that, right? Iller than Magic Johnson, shit like that. I forgot how it goes, right? But the stuff that Ghost was saying throughout that album is not punchlines, it's non sequiturs of abstract shit. And if you really listen to Superb's rhymes, none of them are abstract. Not one.
When I listen to him, I can see
even his own shit.
Yeah.
So he gave him. So it's telling me like a ghostwriter gave you the best shit. Let's look at a ghostwriter that is one of the illest though. I've spoken on and off the record with Sky Zoo many times.
Mm-hmm.
He don't give the best shit to the ghostwriter as a ghostwriter. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't say, oh yeah, Sky Zoo's a ghostwriter, but his shit's kind of weak. You know what I mean? His shit is mad lyrical. You know?
I know.
So it's like, what would be the purpose of a ghostwriter?
I think you know what it is. I think
right for Nas, right? Like, what would be the actual purpose though?
Niggas get writer's block.
Yeah, niggas get writer's block.
Because when I know
I
somebody.
think they do have people that they call.
But isn't that how you But isn't that how you make music though? Because like if you were in the studio and you came up with an idea,
no, that's a
that's something different from you getting credit on my shit for writing.
Why it's not? Because Kanye West came out, he was like, yo, this person might have said something, and I got an idea, and and I wrote it, but you also you're part of it now. So
Yeah.
what do you say about that?
Yeah, but we can also have an idea and we formulate it. Like I suck at writing choruses.
Right.
And when I did the Our Swords song, the last song on the album, we were thinking of a chorus though. And you know me, I'm out of doom with it. I was like, fuck a chorus, King. Like I was like, fuck it. You know what I'm saying? And then he was like, no, we gotta have a chorus. Like we together. And I wrote something, but it was more of a poem because it was in my head. Right? And then he took that and to him, I wrote it. But I was like, nah, I didn't. You changed the whole structure. Like you wrote it into that structure where it led into the chorus and shit like that. It was fucking crazy.
Now,
So
if you give me
we
an
write
idea,
it like together like that, even
That's
though
something
some of
different.
my ideas were mine, some of the ideas were his.
It's kind of,
Why
If we wrote it
wouldn't no?
together, that's something different.
Why wouldn't that work with someone like a Stick as a producer? Because Stick is so smart.
Right.
You know that they're gonna have ideas on the lyrical content of a certain song. You know what I'm saying? Like they might just be talking about like, yo, first of all, Stick is younger, so it's not using it knobs. You need to rhyme about, you know, rhyme about this shit. But when they're making something, he's sticking to the song, and it was like, it makes sense that there would be some kind of back and forth intellectually.
Well. At the end of the day, everybody, AI likes to track. So you want to feed off somebody. Like
Right.
in the studio, I tell everybody when they come to my session, this is our session. If you hear something, if you got an idea, if you hear I'm offbeat, if I'm off tone, say something. Just don't sit around fucking just being nosy. Say something like, this is this session too. You gotta help me.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
that's real because there's a lot of use. Because I could see him making his album with Kanye, or anybody making an album with Kanye, and Kanye having some input on how they should do, how could they do the verse, change an inflection here, there. That sounds like it's not writing, but it is because he's changing the entire flow of shit. You know what I'm saying?
the only person I don't agree with is Diddy when he be doing it, because to me he don't really be contributing much. So
It's a lot of.
I find
he just took that on as an artist because if you look at
I've been wailing about Diddy
people
longer than even Jay-Z. So
it's
Diddy, to me, no, I think the opposite of you guys.
Yeah.
I think I need to give him all the credit for the destruction of this music. You know what I'm saying? I need to give him all the credit for popping out certain shit. It's funny because it used to be on Wikipedia and they took it off.
What's that?
You know what I'm saying? And if you ever read the biography written by, and I forget his name too, there's a new one that came out, but there's an older one, and he's a known journalist, Chael Coker, right? And even he noted in his biography that Biggie didn't do any of the pop songs that were done, and it was Puffy going back and saying, "What are you doing? This is no good. You have to go back and do these pop songs." You know what I'm saying? So he had to go back and do Big Pop and all that stuff. But yet people thought I was crazy when I said, "Oh, it sounds like there's 2 albums on here."
It was.
You got to know how much of a madman it was. I'm saying this in Brooklyn, God.
Right.
So I'm some Puerto Rican kid saying this shit in front of
Brooklyn.
what was the big record store?
That shit with Biggie.
Beach
Tell me
Street.
about Biggie out there, bro.
Right on Fulton, right? I used to be in front of there, and I'd be like, I don't know.
What, just build it?
It was all Wu-Tang for me. So I was like, I don't know. Wu-Tang. I knew the move, It's not even Wu-Tang's the hard shit. And the other shit, whatever it was, you know what I'm saying? But the pop A side, hardcore B side, that is an innovation. That changed everything.
Why can't there be balance in the musical world of Sunez? And also my other question, do you think you have a disconnect with a certain type of hip hop, being that you really got tapped into it more so in the late or early 90s, whatever? So the whole party and whatever type of hip hop from the late 70s to the early 80s, you ain't really connect with that ever. So it's kind of like, of course you wouldn't appreciate or fuck with.
Very true. That's
you know
very
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But why can't there be balance and both coexist in the reality of hip hop?
I forgot who was telling me this in an interview, and I just let them speak. It's their mind, so I don't get to it. But I hate this concept of balance.
That's not equality.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not. You know what I'm saying? It's definitely not. You know what I'm saying? was gonna use a vulgar example, but I'll try to make
No,
it
go
nicer.
ahead, go.
But the reason balance is horrible for music though is because not everything goes into making the same type of song. You know, so the same type of effort of skill and talent is not needed on all these levels of different songs that we're saying. It's deliberately less talent to make certain songs. You know what I'm saying? And people say, no, it takes talent to make something that grooves and pops to everybody. And not really, because that's only for a small contingent of the people that dare or usually stumble into this pop formula. And a lot of pop formulas, people stumbled into them by accident, for our people being a coon. Let me up the ante on the coonery.
Right.
And now I've got a different hook.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Let me dance even more. And then now I've got a newer hook though. You know, the foolery. Like, for example, most of the 2000s. You know what I'm saying? Oh, look, we need a jingle? No, let's not do a jingle. Let's do a whole nursery rhyme.
Yo.
And then people are actually giving credit to Nelly for a flow that is from Old McDonald, or these are flows that aren't really yours. They're flows that were written 50 years ago, 100 years ago.
Well, the same thing when I
It's
heard
not
that
your
song.
flow, so nobody's gonna tell. Like if I did an old Mick Sunez had fuck, yeah, ho, yeah, ho. You're like, yo, Sunez is crazy.
Let's not act like him.
No,
That shit.
but that's a consistent interpolation. And see, the real reason, let's take that example to the whole extent. So then you say, listen, no, but Sunez, that's like what hip hop was originally is. I just did interpolation.
Hell no.
Right. But there's a difference between elevation and degradation.
Right.
I give you an example. They used to give credit to early Ludacris records and other records like that in the 2000s. I always use the Dark Ages as the example, right? And they were saying, look, he's just using the same 808s that Run DMC used to use. And they used to say that. That was the argument. Oh, it's like that, you know? And they'll have like, first of all, it's copied, so it doesn't have the same effect. So you didn't really produce anything, you just copied. But the other thing is this, is that now you're taking something that wasn't really refined. A lot of 80s hip hop is not refined. That was the best that they could do at the time.
Right.
So a lot of the songs that they were doing were really what the best that they could do.
Really
And
work with.
the real thing that people don't want to admit with hip hop is that they were really sampling bad music because it's easier to sample. It's easier to sample a disco break that is repeating overtly than to sample like a small little 2-second snippet of a horn that isn't going to give you a melody. It's not going to give you a rhythmic break on a jazz record. Or if you find a break, how many Max Roach's records before you find the break? Even though he's drumming through the whole shit. No one's going to do that. No one digs that long. You know what I'm saying? They dig deep, but not that long, especially if there's millions of Jimmy McGriff records out there. You know? I love Jimmy McGriff. So I'm saying, you know what I'm saying? Like straight beats, right? So what I'm saying is that people like, when people talk about balance, then they put that on the same level. It's not the same level. You know, some music takes some time to understand. It's time to listen to it. It takes a re-listen. So they don't have the same space as another song with a great hook and shit like that. You know what I mean? So we have to make amends for stuff like that. So I'm gonna be that type of person that isn't gonna try to equalize things. Say we just need balance though, because I don't need to be on the same footing as bad music, or easier music to make, or simpler music to make. You know what I'm saying? And so it doesn't help. It's not like I'm helping the better music like that. People just go, I don't mind the hoes. I just wish that there were more women that were good. No. Let's give it all the hoes. We don't need the hoes. No, we need the hoes. I don't know we need the hoes. You know what I mean? Let's go back. Let's name a hoe. Think of any musical contribution given to us by a hoe. That is next level, and people go, that's a blueprint.
No. Because Little Kim was a creator. She was a creator.
Someone would say that, but
she was created by
she might have been an industry plant in a sense.
But she was created by
They
Biggie
even
Smalls.
look at her age, bro, at the time when that shit came out.
She was created by Biggie Smalls.
You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
let's look at that.
So it is looking back as a father and all that shit. I'm like, yo, nah, this shit
There's
is
a lot of
fucked up,
women.
bro.
and quality female MCs that respect Little Kim. So
Right.
let's assume this.
Right.
Let's assume this fallacy for a moment, right? Does that need to be equalized? So is there even a way to balance that with other better MCs? Like, can you balance Little Kim though, and then Bahamadia collage album get the same worth as her debut? A debut that doesn't have the refinement, skills, or techniques that are even close to anything that was what Bahamadia was doing.
In two different leagues.
Right, it's two different types of music though.
But you
know what I'm
call it
saying?
horrible and
Right, yeah, because I'm speaking about a standard. I set myself different, guy. If people read my stuff, they're looking for a standard. They didn't
Right.
reach the standard.
You're right. Same shit with my music.
So
Certain
that-
people have a
Why
standard.
would I equalize? Why would I equalize them?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
You know, when you think of
I'll give you an
music,
example. Don't forget.
Music.
I'll give you an example though. People don't want to hear violence music and all that kind of shit though, right? But how come Cool G Rap still keeps making my standard?
Right.
You know what I mean? Because he overcompensates with so much creativity,
Exactly.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Overcompensates because he happens to be probably the greatest athletic MC ever.
Mm-hmm.
If we was gonna do that, right? I was talking about Pharaoh, but like, yo, who's really the father of that? You know what I'm saying? Who's to me on Mount Rushmore of that shit?
Cool Rap.
He would be Cool G Rap. I always put Cool G Rap over Kane though. And I know it's another
Yeah,
Brooklyn
you
thing,
too.
but
He
had more greater work.
Came from the tree of Kaz in a sense, possibly.
yes, right.
Definitely.
But in my Mount Rushmore, I'm judging. My Mount Rushmore is based on the peaks of recorded music, because to me, it's not just about having those abilities, but being able to translate them into song. Because what I'm
Exactly.
judging is music, recorded music,
That's
and that's the difference, though. Not saying that a guy like Kaz or Melly Mel isn't on the same stature, but when I say Mount Rushmore, it's because of the recorded music.
Right.
You know, so that's why it's a little different. To make consistent song crafting in this way, and be that blueprint for how it's done afterwards. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of things that Kaz never could say content-wise, never did. You know what I'm saying? And all that. Whereas G-Rap has albums where his content is actually mad varied. You know what I'm saying? What was it? The Live and Let Die album. You know what I'm saying? People sleep on that.
Oh no. That is actually that's a monument on my Mount Rushmore.
He had
Live and Let
how
Die.
many topics, subjects?
We had
Oh,
that in the
fucking God.
crib. I had that in the crib
Yeah.
as a local youth.
You know?
That's an album
But-
that's not on Apple. and none
Yeah,
of
you
that
know
shit
why? Because it was controversial with the album cover and certain things at the time.
Right.
But the official, not the one that came out, the official bootleg, like, yo, that's a classic. Like, yo, Live and Let Die is a hip hop masterpiece to me.
No,
To
that's
me.
a fact.
When that shit came out in the early 90s, I was blown away as a kid. And it came out before Illmatic. Illmatic was even
I bought Live and Let Die for $3. I bought
So
that shit
Live
for
and Let Die was
$3.
90.
Live and Let Die was like 92,
92,
3? 92, 93, yep.
Yeah, I bought that for $3 though, in the bin.
Live and Let Die?
Yeah.
I had to move back. I had to move like somebody from Cold Chillin' leaked it in the street and I got a copy of it. That shit was- Oh my God.
I remember Berry Gordy used to tell his staff, like, would you listen to that song? Would you take your last money, buy that song, or would you buy a sandwich, right? And
Wait, what? Say it again.
he said, would you take your last money and buy a sandwich, or would you buy the song? And that's how he generated, worthy songs. And think about it. If we treat music the way we treat food, you don't want to eat food that's below average.
You don't want to eat food you're not supposed to be eating.
Music.
Let's look at Motown, because Motown has the exceptions to all the things that you're talking about. They made, first of all, they had like a super jazz band, which means that their band was more athletic,
Funk Brothers,
right? They could do everything.
Everything.
So the songs that were expected of them are not that difficult to actually play for them. You know what I'm saying? Even though it's still impressive that they were funky, because a lot of jazz musicians hate funk. You know what I'm saying? They hate the idea of the repetition of the funk. You know, and then you dig into the rhythm as opposed to expand. You know, and just keep that steady. You know, they don't like there's no improvisation in this. But Berry Gordy found that consistent type of sound. You know, he even structured it where it would sound perfect on the radio. You know, like the sound had to sound different on the radio. So like that's why there's this type of like higher treble. Like compare Motown songs to Al Green songs, because the Willie Mitchell shit, Al Green and shit like that. You know what I mean? Syl Johnson, the shit that Willie Mitchell was doing. He produced all that stuff, right? And but it also kept him rigid to experimentation, right? Because he wasn't so keen on letting Stevie Wonder do all his albums. People always talk about what's going on. He didn't want him to do that. He's also not so keen on Stevie Wonder having complete control like that, you know? But Stevie Wonder is like that's an anomaly though. Like, he's the anomaly. Like, you're going to tell me I have to equalize bullshit music, easier pop music to everything else that's a deeper quality, takes more time to appreciate sometimes, when the only guy that is like actually can do all that on all levels, the whole spectrum, is people like Stevie Wonder. Because his shit was like, his most pop records have real structure.
Yep.
And this shit is fucking crazy to me.
Nah, his
You
music
know?
is crazy.
Yeah.
Like a lot of Stevie Wonder records, I listen to like hip hop lyrics. Because I wonder, like, yo, the way he wrote that shit, like, there, like, it's crazy the words he was using, like, right? Like, it was crazy. And they're always all melodic. Like, you know, he'll use bigger words, more crowded lyrics and shit, and they'll still be melodic. Yeah, he's a cornerstone. A cornerstone.
He's a like
You know?
a genius. Like,
Yeah, because people talk about like cornerstone, like Ray Charles, James Brown. You got to put Aretha there as cornerstones, but I think Stevie's a cornerstone too, especially to all the music we're hearing now, like everything after, you know.
Gotta be
Right?
gotta
Because without Stevie, though, I don't think you get what Michael Jackson and what Quincy did.
Right.
Yeah, I think I don't know if Quincy ever talked about that, but I think there's a lot of Stevie and like in what Quincy was able to achieve too. Like, how do you make a more dance friendly song but still has a quality of the quality of the funk? It's not supposed to be about quality, but there's a quality to the funk. You know, that's really what made music pop.
Lyrics
Because the
all
funk
that.
has quality, and these are people like James Brown, of course, but you know, and then Ray Charles, of course, too, because he's the one that really made R&B. You know? But having a quality in the funk was the thing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But I like so much more popular music and all the other genres, though, that I'm like, fuck it, we'll destroy all of it in hip hop. I can't think of a pop. What's a popular? To me, Common is my favorite pop MC. You know, and that's not even right. That's not. Yeah. He's my favorite pop MC, Common. You know. I'm real bad at this, right? You see how bad it is. You know.
Wow, listen, you consistent.
Yeah.
Okay.
I listen to West Side Gun, and sometimes he's too poppy for me.
that shit is annoying.
Listen, I'll be wondering because a lot of guys, you know, you co-sign and.
But he has
I'm like,
he has a lot of
not that far removed
West
from
Side-
what Jay-Z. and
West Side
Biggie
Gun
was
has a
doing
lot
and
of-
saying, you know what I'm saying?
West Side Gun has a lot of mastery of the pop realm.
But that's his gimmick. Everybody got their gimmick.
No, I'm not mad about it. I don't think he had much to say.
But if you
anyway.
could accept him, why you can't accept Cole?
No. See,
And by the way, you might have the
First off,
greatest. You might have the greatest Jay-Z, low-key Jay-Z diss record ever.
I did have it at the level, yeah.
Nah, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit. The rest of the world, you know what I mean?
You watch, years from now, there'll be somebody will write
So
an
it's gonna
article
be like,
and say, wow,
yo.
the Ether 2 that was forgotten.
I was like, nah. If Jay hear this,
Yeah, he'll wanna fight me.
he might send some
And
subs.
you know, I'm not doing no back and forth song with
No, I know you wouldn't, but I'll be like,
yeah, no.
you know,
He gets
a lot of niggas say shit, and it's like, all right, whatever. But
It'll be like,
that's
oh no,
something I live with.
I'm not a fucking rapper, you know.
Yeah, but then that's where you got rappers that come step in and handle that shit.
Yeah.
I'll handle that shit. Don't worry.
But you know,
I'll handle that.
no, look, my my thing with Jay, first of all, I think Jay-Z's overrated as far as all of his techniques and skill.
Oh, that's he
I think-
from everybody.
No. It's not only that though, but he there's no technique he can't do.
He's the master
But-
manipulator.
But that's not unique to other people. So like I could say, I think Pharaoh has done all the techniques that we could think of at more amazing levels than let's say Jay-Z does. The other thing is this: Jay-Z can't be a goat to me because his content is very low barometer.
And he's a biter. He
Right. I'm not even going there. I did all that in the song.
Right. He's a biter.
But everybody's a fucking.
Not like that though. Not like
No,
like that.
And he admitted. I respect the fact that the nigga admitted.
I mean
this
that's
shit,
but
and,
you
like,
can't do that though because
No, I
look,
get
Trump exists though, so we have an example of people that admit that they're full of shit and that it doesn't. That's why I said never respect fake. What you can't respect fake. Don't equate the two. Respect has two definitions. You respect your enemy, even though you think they're vile pieces of shit,
Mm-hmm.
but you also respect the God because he has principle. That's
Right.
different types of respect. You know what I mean? We can't go respecting fake and then equate it with the other. You know, my thing with Jay-Z is, aside, I don't think that he's the most technically gifted MC, the way he gets that credit for.
Right.
I think he's a master pop MC, but I don't give him that label either. I was telling my man G Huff one time, he's an MC too, and he be getting on me because he's LeBron, he's from Ohio, so you know he has to root for LeBron. It's a plight that he has to deal with, I think.
Yeah.
But we always go back and forth with the Jordan LeBron thing, and you know he's always wrong at the end. But he always tells me about Jay-Z, and he likes to fuck with me with that, right? This idea of with Jay-Z, right? This idea of him being GOAT level, right, is because he's mastered it in all the pop levels, like he's right. But what of a deeper nature has he taken to the pop realm? It's not much. And if we said, I always have this thing called the pop MC. Who's the greatest pop MC? Like I said in the song.
Yeah.
But I have two. I have a good pop MC and an evil one. Like I have a good and evil.
Okay.
Right? If it was a good term, like a positive term, it would be Busta Rhymes. So to me, if I had to pick an MC that actually was greater to me than Jay-Z, that took it to that level, I would be picking, you know what I'm saying? I would be picking Busta Rhymes.
Listen, I'm talking about
You
shit
know?
about Jay-Z.
So if
too,
I actually
like,
picked a pop rapper that I listen to, right? If I call him a guy I call a rapper, it'd probably be Busta Rhymes, you know? But
Jay would be the evil one.
yeah, he has to be evil.
Low key. But it is interesting, you know what I'm saying? I know a lot of dudes that really treat Jay-Z like their pops. Like
Mhm.
they look at him at that level. So I get the
Yeah.
like, yo, why we even holding him up that high? You know what I'm saying? But
There came a time in like 02 and 03, right? Where every single underground rapper that was the majority of them were like, well, Jay-Z does what he does, but they start to have criticism.
yeah.
And they also were like, well, I always name who, because I hate this question. Never ask this. Who would you like to work with? Would you like to work with, in the industry? That's corny. Like, right?
But, I mean,
Right? Who are the people you like now? And then the guy names some idiot that is fucking whack as hell because, that's how you do it, though.
Right,
You know what I mean?
right.
Name the newest kid with colored hair. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's corny. But yeah. I mean, I exhausted everything about Jay-Z in that song that I have nothing left.
No, but it was great. It was great.
That
was great.
I'll be in Marcy Projects one day. That's the nigga that made the Ether 2.
Part 2.
Fuck that nigga up.
Word.
Yeah. I don't know if I get love in Marcy anymore.
But that's the thing. I have a bias. I'm from, you know what I mean? I'm from the style field. You from Marcy.
Yo,
so it's something.
My first
that,
DJ in radio, when I did my first radio show in college, was actually the first rhyme partner of Pumpkinhead. You ever know Pumpkinhead?
Yeah, Pumpkinhead.
They named the block after, they named the street
That's
after
right.
him too, right? PH, aka Pumpkinhead, right? Great brother. And Remembered in Perfection. And he is instrumental to battle rapping too. Very instrumental to that cipher. You know what I mean? How it became like a real business and things like that. he's not the sole person, but he's very important to it. So I remember one time I was doing a show at War, right? And I played something, and it was just because he was Puerto Rican, you know, and I was trying to like it. I was like trying to be, you know, and it wasn't to the standards that we had. And he took it off, and off air, he's like, don't like something just because you relate to them or you want to relate to them. Like in this case, he's Puerto Rican. If he's fucking whack, though, you can't play it. And I said, but he could be good. And he was like, yeah, but this song is not good. You know? And I took that as the way, you know what I'm saying? The way I thought about that a lot. Because we want to like shit. Like, and you know what? It's easier for me because there's very few MCs that came from my hood. So there's not like guys that blew up from my hood at all. Like really blew up. No one blew up from Sunset. So it's not like I go, oh yeah, but he's a Sunset dude. I gotta rock with him. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't. You know what I'm saying? I don't have to. Even with like people like Fat Joe, because he's Puerto Rican. A lot of times the reasons I fuck with Fat Joe is because when I personally would meet him and build with him, he was very gracious throughout all the years. You know what I'm saying? So that's like, I don't know, like 5-6 years of me going back and forth, like in official interviews or just meeting him on the street and stuff. And he was always real peace. That song I had, Rally Around the Family. I was talking about being in a police march, anti-police brutality march, and I was in the back. And I looked up, and Fat Joe was there. And I asked him why he's in the back. And he didn't want the limelight. You know what I'm saying? And so we just was talking through the whole thing while we was there. You know what I'm saying? You know? So he was always on it. Like he makes songs that, yeah, I throw all the way up most of the time when I hear it. Right? I throw all the way up, right? When I hear his songs, but a lot of them. But but I appreciate Fat Joe the person, you know.
Sunez about to go
Yeah.
some battle rap.
Yeah.
Yo,
Yeah.
what is Sunez as a battle rapper? That'll
Oh,
be
my
wow,
goodness, yeah.
bro. Nah.
Yeah.
So, you got some dark side.
Yeah, it's. I tell you something though. The rule of journalism though is don't say anything you wouldn't say to their face though.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I have told Fat Joe certain songs of his I didn't like. You know what I mean? And he's pretty big. You know what I'm saying? One time when we did that, Pun wasn't there, but everybody in Terror Squad was there, and I asked him, you know, like, how come you couldn't put out the Posse cut? You know what I'm saying? Like, I thought it was your label. And he was sitting next to me, and he smashed the table. He smashed the table. I said, "Oh my goodness, I'm gonna have to fight Fat Joe now." Oh boy, you know what I mean? And he wasn't mad at me. He was mad. He was thankful I asked the question though because it was something he wanted to get off his chest. And he was like, "It's really like," he explained to me like the whole thing of subsidiary. Like it's my name and everything, but we're still a subsidiary, so they still get to block shit that shouldn't be blocked. And they said something about cops and thing in that song, the Posse cut in the first Terror Squad album, and that's why that wasn't released. You know, that actually caused a lot of rift between the crew because it made it look like it was all about Pun, but they were really trying to release the Posse cut first. But since they couldn't, they released the song that he had by himself. So it just felt like they were just.
Oh, you talking about for the first Terror Squad album?
Yeah, so it just felt like they were always promoting Pun, but it wasn't. That wasn't what they were doing. But I think that has something to do, because I was in that room along with all of Terror Squad except Pun and Joe, so I got different stories. I never wrote any of them because I'm not a snitch. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not gonna blame me for them fighting this shit. You know, not me. Not my fault. You know what I'm saying? But little things cause rifts. Because when you're an artist though, in a label, you have no control. God, like I know you don't have control. And deep down, you don't have control. You don't really know what your contract says. You don't really know fully what you owe. You don't really know when you'll get paid. You feel like you are. It's a real unknown shit. You know what I'm saying? the whole concept of points on an album, like the whole system of points, is confusing in its own right. You know what I'm saying? They could have just told you a percentage, but that would be too clear. You know what I'm saying? So they got to do points and all that kind of shit. You know, so all of that shit. You know, but it's very rare that I like a pop song. And even when you go poppier, it always dilutes. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's okay when it goes a little bit more poppy, but then it could fuck up. You know? So like Redman, from There Is a Dark Side to the album with Method Man. The album with Method Man is way more poppy. Think about it. It's more like appealing.
They only got one song.
The first album that they did.
The first
Blackout.
It's only one song I really like.
Yeah.
I really like that.
I liked it, but
it.
it was poppier. It was more like a more pop funk like album. You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
that's it's not like There Is a Dark Side.
2000 was kind of
Yeah. It was disgusting time. Yeah, it was disgusting time.
But I feel like he still kept his integrity.
Yes,
as
that's why
rapper,
I'm making that example.
He's one of my favorites.
Yeah, but that's why I'm making that example. And it's hard with hip hop because if Redman There Is a Dark Side, for example, came out now, nobody would fuck with that. And be like, I'd be the one writing about it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
I'm like, yo, that and Muddy Waters.
Yeah, no, nobody would want to hear that shit now.
Muddy Waters is classic.
I think There Is a Dark Side is better. It's just more experimental.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love them. The first three albums I love.
Yeah.
But again, music is different though, you know. But anyway, all these deeper ideas about music, you're gonna have to pay for the Substack for that shit. I'll be giving out too much shit for free. Let me give out mad shit for free. You know? Again, I'm Frank White with that. You guys got fat. But all right. Let me go through something. How we see in today's science. What science we talking about? Good segue, because I was gonna say for Muhammad, right? For Sam, when we build on the math, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask you, how do you see today's mathematics? Peace of the Godfrey.
Peaceful.
Well, today's mathematics is wisdom. Today's the 11th.
Is it wisdom?
Well, knowledge and knowledge.
No. Today's mathematics is knowledge.
Knowledge. Okay.
All being born to wisdom. Okay. Wisdom was days ago. That was 9 days ago. It was the wisdom day, right? So you don't just add them in your head and go. It's the process. The only reason that we even born them is to do that process of coupling the principles. But the mathematics of the day is always what that day is. Today is knowledge. Right? And when we build on it, we could build on it like that, or we could born them. Knowledge, all being born to wisdom. So God, how do you see that? How do you see knowledge?
I see knowledge born to wisdom as well. I see wisdom, and I see like knowledge and wisdom to a degree. I see it as like awareness, and somewhat as like a polarization of like of my surroundings, and how do I put forth into it, you know what I mean? Like, how do I share what I know, my wisdom and my everything that I've acquired, how do I share it in a positive, righteous manner?
Okay. You see how it's different, right? It has to be different. Knowledge is different than knowledge.
Right.
So we have to start thinking about things. A lot of this stuff is abstract, but if you can't deal with things on an abstract level, then you're not taking out the mystery of things, the mystery of principles, the mystery of how does knowledge collect? You know what I'm saying? And like the question that I was saying was, how do we know we're in the state of knowing? And it is often in the day when we deal with knowledge. Most of the time, you don't know you're dealing in the state of knowing unless that knowledge is coupled with more knowledge.
Okay, so that makes knowledge.
Right, knowledge.
Okay, I didn't understand that because I've heard the 11th knowledge, the 12th is knowledge, wisdom. You know what I'm saying? You add it, you born it back. You know what I'm saying?
So knowledge borns wisdom, right? The way that we use knowledge is wisdom, right?
Okay.
And the wisdom Knowledge, all being born wisdom means that all of the knowledge is always being coupled with this one actual fact as well. What is that one actual fact? That now that you have knowledge of self, it will forever be dealing with the fact that you are the true and living God.
Right.
So everything is knowledge. Everything will be attaching to another bit of knowledge. You see? It'll bring insight to this one piece of knowledge, will bring more insight to that other piece of knowledge because they are automatically being used together. The way the mind works, though, is that once knowledge accumulates, though, it is being merged together. And this is why we have to be extra careful. Be extra careful that what we are dealing with is not belief. Right? Because that'll eventually lead to what? Misunderstanding.
Right.
Application, today's degree in the alphabet. King, right?
I had it.
Oh, I wasn't paying attention.
Right?
King.
King, right?
K.
Right?
King.
So I always say that the king is the ruler, right? He is responsible for the people. He has the knowledge of himself and the knowledge of the people and knows the way to lead them. See, these are the kind of things that when you deal with the alphabet, you're relating it back to the supreme mathematics.
Right.
That's why you need to know what number the letter is. You know what I'm saying? You can't just know K king. You have to know it's the 11th letter in the supreme alphabet. Right? It's important. It's important to know how to build with these mathematics every day because these are the principles that you're focusing on a little bit more. Right? Right? How are you focusing on it? What are you doing? Then we add degrees to it. Have you now heard that your word shall be bond? Right? Yes, my word is bond. Right? So we finish that off in bond is life, and I should give my word shall fail. Right? It's one of my favorite degrees. You know what I'm saying? It's one of my favorite degrees. Right? Out of all the degrees, it's the ultimate mantra. It's literally a mantra. It's actual fact. It's a mantra. It's the way we live. And knowledge, right? What are you acknowledging? Right? The knowledge of yourself, the knowledge of what you're dealing with, borning the way that you speak to yourself. So that's also as an exercise, focus on how we speak to ourselves. Is it negative? Or do you expect yourself to do certain things? Or do you not? Do you talk about failure at certain moments? Or do you talk about regrouping? I don't really fail anything. I just regroup. I retreat and regroup. You know what I'm saying? It's all a cipher. We take the lessons, we go back, we group, right? And we return much more potently, right? So this is how I deal with that. Your word is bond, is the most important communication that you have for yourself. Keeping your word is bond to other people can actually be a hindrance to keeping it to yourself. You see? A lot of people go out of the way and suffer needlessly, keeping their word as a bond to everyone else at every other moment, so they never have to work on themselves. You know what I mean? Right? You know, you see it, right? But the first word is bond, or one of the first, right? Who could say what the first is to keep your word that you will speak to yourself with the respect of being the true and living God. Do you speak to yourself not like a supreme being where you say you exalt yourself at all times? I'm the greatest. I deserve better. He should have given me that, right? Right? That's how a lot of people talk to themselves. We don't need the knowledge of self to talk to ourselves like that. You know what I'm saying? Maybe Jay-Z talks like that to himself. Yeah, right? Do another one in there. Another one for good measure, right? Remix. But I'm gonna get banned someday. I'm gonna go on social media and the shit won't even work.
Just waiting for Vlad to, you know what I'm saying, post, oh, new Jay-Z this. Sunez Allah.
Who is this guy? Who is this guy? Yeah. And he'll have a moment where he'll have to say, I mean, the beat is better than what Nas gets. Fucking fucking dick. I'm gonna go on there and snitch about a million things that never happened. You know? I'm gonna tell them about, I remember the time I murdered this guy out in, I'm just gonna make up all types of murders and crimes and
Somebody
shit.
should do that.
That'll be, non-exclusives that he just got. You know what I mean? But, yeah. It's like he's, is he Lord Jamal's Erykah Badu? Because after Vlad, he just changed. I really like Erykah Badu. I'm just saying.
Yo.
Right?
Ain't Erykah Badu 5%?
Yeah. She is influenced positively
Adjacent.
by this knowledge.
She's 5%
Yeah.
adjacent.
I say
5%
someone influenced positively. No, because the things that she says are positive, what I'm saying about it, And she's used it a lot where it was useful to everybody, I think, But once she showed that booty out there, I don't think that definitely wasn't earth material right there, you know what I'm saying? Which the video?
The 3 quotes was all.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
dropped the 3 4.
I don't even remember the name of the song. I just remember
Windows.
I just remember one part.
Did you feel conflicted? Is it like, damn, that's nice, but that's the earth?
I think this is
How
the
do you deal with that?
I think that's the contradiction that we're talking about here, right? This is it right there. Erykah Badu's booty, and then thinking, is it still quality music though? Right? Yeah. Erykah Badu makes quality music though. Mm-hmm. Even though sometimes her funk samples and stuff, I was disappointed though that a lot of the stuff she did with Madlib though was this jacking Ramps album. If you ever heard Ramps album, it's a female funk band. She just did the same thing. So it should have been credited as more of a remake than, Yeah. I go in the crates. I used to have. Want to know how rich I used to be? Throughout the 90s and 2000s, I still advocate for this. I think it'd be better like this, even though I enjoy a lot of music like this. If R&B music was not allowed to sample anything, I don't think they should be allowed to sample shit. You know what I'm saying? If you can't rhyme, I don't want to hear you sample shit. Lauryn Hill, she's allowed to sample because she can rhyme. But if you singing and if you're just singing shit, you can't sample. No, R&B's not allowed to sample. Yeah.
I mean, a lot
Now,
of
see,
R&B
again,
songs,
wouldn't that be like the assignment though, where we were like, to counter Yakub and stop him from doing this, I'm just gonna make a law that says you can't deal with the reality beyond yourself.
Well, that is something
Right? Yeah.
that you gave, right? I needed the because I was supposed to went away this week, so I was going to do it over the because I was leaving New York, and that's something that I spoke to Rio about, and I even spoke to Math about, and we was building on it, and it was like, well, what would you really change? Because they said they wouldn't change nothing; they would let it happen.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because a lot of people when they become 5%, they literally ask the same question as the Greek. Sunnis, then why did God make double? Right? To show forth this power that God, right? And he's all righteous. You know what I mean? Everything shows our reality. That the Greek reads like a hip-hop lyric, but it's to show who we are, the depth of who we are, right? And sometimes the way to see yourself, though, is to see outside of yourself.
Right.
To see that corruption manifest.
Wouldn't it also be like, you wouldn't know what sadness would be like if you ain't have happiness. You wouldn't know what righteousness.
This is some of the main aphorisms and sutras of the Tao Te Ching, right? That righteousness always exists, but it is not known until devilishment appears. They don't use that word, right? So if everybody's just being righteous, you never say, it was kind of dope, God, that you being righteous, though. I just want to say that. You know what I'm saying? No, like you ever have that moment, like you with peoples and stuff like that, you're like, yo, man, we having a great time right now, right? Because you have lots of shitty times,
Right. So you're able to know.
Because life sucks. So like, yo, we're having a great time right now. Like, this is crazy right now. Like, this is dope, right? And it's something that Krishnamurti said. Krishnamurti says that every time you become aware of what you're dealing with, though, it ends. And I was like, when I read that, I was like, you bastard.
Yeah.
You mother. I was
that's quantum. That's kind of like
yeah.
This shit like you don't realize what's behind
That's like
you until
ignorance
you
is
turn.
bliss.
Right, the observer.
Yeah.
And you observed yourself in the observation. So now you noticed it. Now the thing is, it's coming to an end, you know? And he would say that. And when I read that the first time, I was like, you motherfucker. You just ruined all my good times. You know what I'm saying? Good times. Yeah. You know? Which, by the way, your vocation as a DJ is one of the people that can disrupt that. Because everybody's having a good time. They all realize it. And you say, wait a minute, one more time. And, right? You have to re-up the whole shit. Like, they realize it, but they have to take it back. Let's do it again. Like, right? It's hard to do.
I never looked at it in that way, though.
But isn't that what you're doing? Because everybody that's at a good party, they go, wow, this is a great party. But when they realize that they still could have fun, because right when it gets down, though, you got to play another song that's going to keep it going. And it's like, wow, holy shit, he did it again. And now we're wilding out again. You know what I'm saying? Right? So it can't be done. Sorry, Krishnamurti. But no, I love Krishnamurti. He's my favorite philosopher. But the thing about it is, you know, in this reality of life, it's a succession of recognitions. That to be aware of yourself is also to be aware of everything you're doing. And a lot of times to be in the moment is to be in concentration of the very next thing, always moving. That it is always moving. And to actually, in this sense, do the knowledge of something is to stop it. And that was really the point. You know what I mean? So like, my man is actually from Marcy too. Man, we get out for Jay-Z. You know what I mean? We used to work at a place though, and every time he would pass by, I would literally play Ether. And it would be going, fuck Jay-Z. Like, when none of the bosses are around though, he'd walk past me and it'd be like, fuck Jay-Z, you know? And I would cue it up perfectly every time. But he's the best though. He's the best. That's my brother. But it veered me off the path here. This right. But this idea of a succession, right? And this idea of the succession, the accumulation, always in that moment. He's a big Kobe fan too, and he likes checking Kobe videos, right? We all love Kobe. And by the way, Kobe was a great teacher. So if you want to see like the way to teach things that you know, right? Watch the way Kobe was teaching certain things. He was a great teacher, like one of the best that we saw in a popular realm. But he was talking about Curry, and that's why he shared it with me, because I'm rooting for Curry. I never root for LeBron. We all know. So that when he was talking about Curry, and he said that one of the things about Curry is that he's always even keeled, and it shows that he's always in that moment. But in that moment, though, is what? Also knowledge to knowledge, all being born wisdom. So the flow of the way of using this knowledge is to keep it in a flow. And that's also a proof I have for what you were asking before. Don't be afraid. All these wild things I told you, like reading and breaking night reading, like reading all night, like reading for like 12 hours, how long I could go. All of this was to show like, if you know that the mind is infinite, then you can challenge the mind. And that challenge is by loading it, not by worrying, like, did I remember this? You know what I'm saying? Use all of it. Understand everything. Comprehend everything. Okay? And by that, though, you have to have a fearlessness to go get it. Remember I said the children's mathematics, right? Get it, use it, got it. When you're reading mass amounts of information, it's okay to just keep getting it. Because the next information, let's say, I just put it into word, chapter 3 is going to show that you got what chapter 1, what you were just getting. You see? And when you're reading, though, that flow of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding is happening continuously. So you can't be afraid of this flow of today's mathematics. Knowledge, knowledge, born wisdom. Knowledge, knowledge, born wisdom. You can't be worried about that. It's infinite. The more you challenge, the more you remember. You know what I'm saying? If you look in your catalog, you've heard thousands of the people that have the people with the worst musical libraries of jack shit in their library have heard thousands of tunes, thousands of songs, thousands of melodies. You know what I mean? And they don't worry about being overloaded. You know what I'm saying? Right? So you don't worry about that. You know? Okay. I remember reading one of the Questlove has a lot of books. I forgot which one it was. I think I read 2 of his books. And there's this more biographical one, and he was saying how much music he actually owns. And he was saying it was like about 10 terabytes. And I was like, what the fuck? I have a very considerable collection, but it is not 10 terabytes. Maybe I'm getting close to a terabyte, which but when I read that, I was like,
10 terabytes.
that was like small. This guy's just buying every fucking thing that exists. Like, he's buying everything. You know what I'm saying? Right? He's got a whole bunch of genres. Like,
I don't even know how you get through all of those songs.
Yeah. But the thing is, though, to constantly be doing the knowledge of things is not. That's why continuing to study is what gets abused of our minds all the time. Okay? We're constantly bombarded with things to buy and consume all the time. And nobody worries about the overload with that. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's really, really complaining about having so much things that we could watch. It's a lot of things and everything like that, but they find a niche, they find a way, but there's tons of stuff to watch. You know what I'm saying? You could be watching things forever and ever, you know? So what is it though? It's all about your discernment, how you discern, right? But as you're discerning though, you will find measures of infinity within what you've discerned to be useful to do the knowledge to. Don't be afraid about that. It'll make you stronger. You know what I'm saying? Just like you're working out, right? We do shit to failure, right? We don't do a little bit of kung fu, right, Free? We do a little bit. We do that shit till we can't move no more, right? Yeah, so don't worry about that. And if you take that attitude into memorizing math, alphabet, 120 lessons, it'll get memorized. It'll get memorized. Continue to repeat, short-term into long-term memory, right? So let's say you're on the 1 to 14, right? Quote that degree, quote that said degree you're dealing with. But then go back later and go from the top, supreme math, supreme alphabet, everything you definitely know. If you get up to that degree and you still got it, then you're like, okay, I did all the other ones and I didn't forget this one. You know what I'm saying? Start writing down exactly what it is that you don't know about this degree, this whole sentence, right? Well, what sentence? Write it down. You know what I'm saying? Make your questions. In other words, the more you use things, the more they become real to you. The more you start noticing. You know what I'm saying? Right? You know, one of the things I love that when my youngest plays with her dolls, she has a ridiculous amount of dolls. I have to OD. You know what I mean? And she always, when she looks at her dolls, she always telling me about small little details about them. You know, they put a heart here, they put, like shit like that. Or like the purse, look, it has like a little, this writing, and I'm like, what? You know what I mean? Like, I can't even see that shit. But like the attention to detail, which means that she's looking at everything, not being worried that she's knowledging too much about this because she loves these toys, right? So it doesn't matter. I could buy 100 more and she'll just play with them. You know what I mean? Same thing with this. You know, you cannot be overloaded. You know what I'm saying? If somebody said, listen, it's about 500 Marvin Gaye songs, man, that nobody's ever heard. You want to hear them? It's a lot of music. Like, yeah, man, you better send that shit over. Right. You better send that shit over right now.
I want to hear it.
Yeah, man. This guy was, that's the GOAT singer to me, though.
Marvin?
Male singer, male voice. Like,
I love Aretha Franklin, man. I could go
I
that.
love both of them.
I mean, when she passed away a few years ago, and I was binging on her music, I was like, wow.
She had, like, not all of her albums did well, and that's how people judge it over time.
Right.
But a lot of albums that didn't do well for her, they got some great songs.
Yeah, they have some. Yeah,
Yo,
you're right about
that's-
that.
I have the
Some
whole
songs I never
collection.
heard.
Yeah. A lot of the '80s albums and stuff, they're filled with great songs.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's real shit.
She got dope shit all the time, all the time. You know, all the time.
It's a different era.
I think if I had to say of all recorded music, if you had to merge the greatest voice and the most prolific singer, I know it'll shock people. Easily Frank Sinatra. No one's close. The man was recording like Tupac level shit. Like he was recording. You know, his catalog is over like 1,200 songs. You know, because I have the app like YouTube Music, I have a playlist with all of his albums. But I've collected every single album personally from the beginning to like 1970. But I've heard everything after that. So I heard the whole career. And on par, his voice was as good as any singer. You know.
I thought Frank Sinatra was good. You know what I'm saying? Like I wasn't too in depth.
Yeah,
with his
if you
music,
want to
but
hear the quality of his voice, you have to hear the early records. If you don't understand, like just New York, it just sounds like choppy. Like our R&B singers don't sing like that. The more that you understand how he was singing, like you got to hear more jazz singing because it's more rooted in that than it is in anything else. And then you start to figure it out. I studied this so much that my daughter became obsessed with Tony Bennett. Yeah.
Tony.
And we actually got tickets to go see Tony Bennett at St. George Theater in Staten. And then he literally a month before the concert, right? He said that he retired. I know, my daughter was devastated. I was like, this motherfucker couldn't do one more show.
Yeah, like how you.
Because he started to get dementia, I think it was. Like so he was like kind of like nah. So I guess so. It's not like I would want to see him doing that, but his voice was good, like even to the end of his career. So. But you can't appreciate that kind of singing if you don't know. Because look, until the 1960s, all pop music is rooted in the style of singing of jazz. It's after Ray Charles that it becomes more of R&B, gospel type singing. People wail, they don't really go with the melody and the improvisation isn't really there that way. And rock becomes influential in the style of music, which is really, again, rooted out of R&B. Like rock is really the pop levels of blues. Like it's the pop of blues. You know what I mean? So anyway, today's a lot of music I'm talking about here. Hopefully can all relate this to the way that we perceive things. The way that we judge the arts that we watch, the quality of film. Like I want you to watch a film and know that you're watching a piece of shit film. That you're just watching it because it's got booty, because it's got, funny shit that is low bargain basement level shit that's making you laugh. Like know what you're watching. You know what I'm saying? Know the art that you're dealing with. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Right? No, if you're watching, like if you're watching a rom-com, know that you're just watching it for the romance crack that you need. You know what I'm saying? Know that what you're watching. If you're watching an action flick with a stupid dialogue, know that you're watching it for the martial arts scenes. Like you're not watching it for, expert dialogue. You know what I'm saying? It'll make you appreciate shit and make you watch different shit. You know what I mean? And that's, take that into all levels. Like when that way you could say there's moments where you say, listen, in this field, I'm gonna watch something quality today. Let's find something quality, right? What was it? So you'd be watching like fun shit, but did you ever see Denzel's Hamlet that he did? You know what I mean? Did a whole movie where he was playing Hamlet. He was amazing with that shit. Yeah. It was on Apple TV, that's why. Yeah. My brother follows film like I follow music, so I have access to like every dope app. You know what I'm saying? So I got everything though. So I got like all types of shit to waste my time with. Like I could never read a book again. Like there's so much shit to watch in these fucking things. You know what I mean? Right? People just be having one of them, like, oh, I got Hulu, I got all them shits. I ain't got Disney Channel, Disney Plus. I got, you know what I mean? But you work on the mathematics right now, right? Work on developing your questions. You know what I'm saying? What is knowledge? Can you describe knowledge in a unique way? You know what I'm saying? Can you answer questions like basic questions you should be answering? Why is knowledge one? And if not, then you should be asking, well, shouldn't it be this? Shouldn't it be that? Like, these are questions you should ask. Why does culture have to be 4 and not 5? You know what I'm saying? Right? Why does equality have to be 6? You know? Right? These are all questions to ask.
Also, it's certain, I don't know if the word is euphemisms?
Euphemisms,
but it's certain sayings associated with the math, whatever, like knowledge is to look, listen, observe, and respect. You know what I mean? So, like,
let's see the definition.
those things I feel like is useful to know because that's like a common language amongst one another. So sometimes a brother may say that to you, and you like, and you hear it again and again. So you're like, all right, bet, let me take note of that knowledge. In this culture, to look, listen, observe, and respect, but you still supposed to build your own understanding on it. You know what I mean?
I see that. Malik, I remember you asking this though. Malik, me on repeat with certain questions. I had answered that. I'm asking what makes Mecca the root of civilization compared to all other civilizations. I think a lot of that has to do with the Egyptian mystery school system. And in that area was where everything was being reconverged again. And that's really the reason, you know, aside from it being also the main flower colony. In other words, everything that was coming from this section, the root of everything right here was coming up here as the colony. Like all the fruit, the core was coming up. So this was called like the colony, and not colony like Puerto Rico is a colony, but colony like they're the root and that's the flower. So everything is coming there to converge. So Mecca becomes the root at that peak, that top. And also, this is also with the knowledge of self, it's going to be an important area because this is where the devil comes down. So this is where all the action takes place. You know what I'm saying? This is where all the half original people are made. You know what I mean? In other words, their mentality becomes half original. You know, we may become lighter, become this, but the thing is, we become a different people, and we have the possibility to be more powerful, something new, something different. You know what I mean? How often does something new and different come along that is bullshit? It still blows up just because it's new and different, right? Free, you want to say something?
I was reading what this NOI brother said that Islam started way before the Prophet Muhammad. Started in Africa. People lost their way, and we had to reteach the Prophet Muhammad Islam. And then he spread it again to the people who had lost their way and became pagans in Mecca.
I know, I haven't read that book, but I know Wesley Muhammad made these scholarly attempts in one of his books.
Africa.
Yeah, equating,
African origins,
you know, and there is a book called African Origin of Islam, you know what I mean? So all of the religions all have their roots in Africa. Really all the spiritualities, because of Kemet and his dominance throughout all of the you know, the eras and the epics, you know what I mean? And the dynasties, really. The dynasties are long as hell.
Have you come across anything from, like, I guess, West Africa that teaches or speaks on the black man being God or God being within? You know what I'm saying?
Many of the Kemetic philosophies have that mentality. Obviously, things like know thyself and everything like that, they come from Kemet, those sayings. But something overt, not as overt. You see it more in the other Asian religions. You see it in some of the yogi religions. You know, you see it obviously later in the Sufic orders of Islam. You see it in many of the orders of Taoism. You definitely see it in all of the manifestations of and different sects of Buddhism, from Zen in Japan, Chan in China.
What made you like? Do you think it's something regional, something experience wise?
No. I think remember
that
we're
they
talking.
developed that.
We're
on
asking,
that side
right? Look at the
versus-
question. We're asking, were they saying that? We can only
I'm not
deal with,
saying it direct.
right,
You get
but
what-
we can only deal with what was uncovered. So we can't say no one was saying it because we didn't find it. So then, this is something I forget where, but Elijah Muhammad talks about this, that certain places in the East were, to him, it was almost like he was saying they were delegated to preserve this. You know, and we talk about like the depth when they go, yo, Kung Fu comes from Africa and things like that. A lot of that is useful, but it's not complete because it was really preserved and elevated in those areas of China. You know what I'm saying? So certain places in China, they were keeping things more preserved. Now, other places are keeping things preserved. The Library of Alexandria, right? Library of Alexandria was in Egypt. It was just like King Alexander the fucking Great decided to call an Egyptian city after himself, which confused me a lot when I was younger in school because I thought that shit was in Greece.
Right.
And no one ever corrected anybody to say it wasn't. That was the shit.
Wow.
You know what I mean? They never corrected anybody saying it wasn't. Because then I'd be like, wait, why are Greek people making cities in Egypt? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that would be a story to tell. But the libraries of Alexandria were destroyed. You know what I'm saying? By Christian orders and such. So who preserved those? You know what I mean? Then you have the Moors. The Moors become crucial, right? Because the Moors they found a lot of that lost knowledge, and then they interpreted it as best as they could and elevated it, and they become crucial, right? And they were dealing with a conquering that was more peaceful because they were bringing so much with them that these falling civilizations, pseudo-oxidized societies, because they were far from civilizations at the time, like Spain and otherwise, were crumbling. And so they elevated them and they were welcomed in to take over. But a lot of, so much was destroyed, especially in Africa. That's why Destruction of Black Civilization, that book, is so crucial. You know? Who knows? There was so much destroyed, God. You know what I'm saying? And I've always felt that even if we find things that were more preserved, like in the other areas of the East of the original people, like India and China, Japan, things like that, those people have respected that it could be found. You see what I'm saying? Whereas it was always about hiding stuff in Africa and destroying it, hiding it. You know what I mean? So that combination of stuff, the tomb raiders, destroying everything. You know what I'm saying? These are all designed to throw away and corrupt a lot of the knowledge. Look at when we talk about the Dogon people, that's literally like a lost found tribe, like that was lost to what we know who we have contact with today, and it's found by us. Like to them, they don't see themselves as lost. They know where they are. You know what I mean? But we wouldn't know so much of the depth of what African tribes and the roots of civilization still were able to preserve if we didn't find people like that. You know? But it was designed to be destroyed from Africa. The orders of Islam went south and they destroyed nearly everything. They were a conquering Islam in the most vicious way. You know what I mean? And that's why a lot of scholars speak about it negatively, as in general, about Islam. You know? And that's why a lot of African scholars are very negative about NOI, this and that, especially when the Black Books movement came about. It was like, wow, we're dealing with that. Islam is you know what I mean? They're not seeing it from the twofold paths that it took. You know what I'm saying? They're not seeing it that way. So that becomes the problem with that. But I'm not going to say that they didn't have this knowledge. It's what we get to find and preserve. And look at the difficulties. There's probably so much more to mine and analyze. But look at the problems that these guys have in there. That a lot of their research now is basically just researching people that already went there and found stuff and analyzing. Even the scholars, they're just analyzing whatever was found already. They're not allowed to go in there and check. If you read Chancellor Williams' Destruction of Black Civilization, the last part, is basically about how he was able to write the book and how he had to go through so much hell to try to get in there and see these ancient digs and all that kind of stuff. So imagine the troubles. These scholars were like, to me, they're Diops and all that like that. They were like the Indiana Jones, man. They were going in there, looking at shit, getting their way in there. Right? And if they didn't do that, we wouldn't have what we had. You know what I'm saying? These are things manipulated for hundreds of years. You know what I'm saying? So when we get these books, it's a blessing. You know what I'm saying? It's a blessing of hard work and fight, like real fight. All right. I hope I answered that, Malik. Self-I build. You said Mecca is not only isolated to a general geographic location, is also descriptive of anywhere to the original man with proper knowledge of self is located in the way that we build with it, in the way that we see it. Okay? So yes, I get that. Peace to the God, King Kamal. Okay. That's peace, God. Willing that you're okay, God. God, King Kamal's a little beat up right now. Angel Suarez. You said, question, when we say someone returns to the essence, where is the essence we return to? The essence is the nature, the nature of the mind. You know what I mean? Peace. All right.
I only made it in.
Okay.
Oh. Oh.
In this case, Malik, what I meant by the flower would be like that understanding. Self-I build. You said the documentary called "The Lost Civilizations of North America" also goes into some of the history that was preserved, lost, and hidden. That's peace. I never heard of that documentary. Let me do a quick search for that on YouTube. All right. Anybody has any questions here? Let me know. I found something with the same title, so it could be what we're talking about here. Not sure. Okay. That's peace, guys. Sunez Allah. LT. Anybody have questions here? Did I answer that, Angel? I said it so quick. Yeah, peace to Pete, my man PH. You know what I'm saying? Great brother. PH, when PH Pumpkin, and when he used to always cut out, and I said his first rhyme partner was my childhood friend too, War, and he used to always cut out and be at Junior High School 51. That's in Park Slope where I was going. He used to go there. He didn't attend that school, but he used to always go there because he's from Park Slope, so he'd be like there. And he used to always he used to say peace to me. And then he would say, yo, why you don't say peace sometimes? Like, you don't say what's up. Like, I was like, I'm a twin, right? And probably saying peace to him, you know what I mean? It was funny though. Yeah. Great brother.
Oh, you and your twin is identical?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
When we were kids, you couldn't tell us apart.
Oh, gotta do it.
Yeah. Now you could. Where are we at? Have you memorized mathematics? What have you memorized so far?
Memorized, all right, so some most of the alphabet.
Okay. Go through it. Give me the mathematics. Let's see.
So knowledge, wisdom.
No. We say one is knowledge.
Oh.
Two. Okay.
1 is knowledge. 2 is understanding.
Nope.
1 is knowledge. 2 is wisdom. 3 is understanding. 4 is culture freedom.
All right, don't help him.
5 is power, refinement.
Okay.
6, I know 7 is God.
Don't skip.
Alright, 6.
Life won't skip.
6 is equality. 6 is equality. 7 is God. 8.
We just went through it earlier. I said the
8,
last
8,
3.
8 is I know 9. 8, 8.
What does God do? What does
God
he do?
Create.
Builds and destroys.
Build and destroy. Alright. 9 is
You just said it.
I know.
Yeah. That's it. You know why that happens? Because you haven't placed it in order. So it's almost like he put build in there and took out born for you. You know what I mean? But it's born, and then what? Cipher. Right? What's the simple exercise for this? Right? When you're outside, every single number, do it. If you're not in a rush, do it with every single number. Knowledge, wisdom, God. Like we're on knowledge, wisdom, God. Do everything. Oh, what number is that? Every number, do it.
You do with the letters.
Then when you're on the alphabet, you do with the letters.
Like my man Polarity said he got a new Justice Cipher born. He got a new job. He use it with the letters as well.
8 is God. B is born. C is seed. D is divine. E is equality. F is father. G is God. H is him, her.
He or
He, her, I said him.
yeah, it's not pronouns here.
I is I. J is justice. K is king. L is love.
Got that one right.
Yeah, I got it right. M is a man.
M is what?
Master.
Master, motherfucker. I master. N is now.
Always.
O
Now or N?
now N.
Is it O is?
O. Cipher. P is power. Q queen. R rule. S savior.
Rule or ruler?
Ruler. S savior. Self.
Self or savior?
Self or savior. T is truth is square. U is unknown.
No.
No second.
No. Second.
Now it's like, all right.
No.
No. Now Cypher's
The
no.
letter U.
You. Oh, you.
Yeah, this turned into like Abbott Costello or something. Right? U. The letter U is you or universe.
I said you. Sorry, you or universe. No, I said unknown.
Unknown is in there.
Yeah, that's
TUV. What's V?
V.
Victory.
Victory.
Okay. TUV.
W is.
X. What is X?
X is unknown.
Right.
That's E.
Y.
Y is
Why?
Y.
Right. The question Y. Right. And then what is Z?
Zigzag zig.
Meaning.
Knowledge, wisdom, understanding.
Okay, that's good.
P.E.A.C.E.
That's good. As you go along, you do better. To really build in it and say, okay, Sunez, now I can go on to the next level. You have to quote him without messing it up, obviously. But then I'm going to ask you certain questions about him. See how the the questions I'm trying to ask is not whether you could give me the rote answers that everybody else gives, okay? Because I don't, like I said, I don't want to throw all the way up. I want you to show me that you have a developing understanding, that it is part of your life. You know what I'm saying? And that's why it's important to me that everybody that goes through learning with me, they're not just memorizing stuff, but it actually is being used in their real life. Like, not because they have to now, but because it's actually working. Like, it's useful, it's relevant. You know what I mean? So that's important, especially in the beginning. Supreme mathematics is the foundation. It's the core. You know, it's the core of the baseball, just like Wing Chun. You know what I mean? So it's important.
I do shit on your phone, so you just go through
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right.
every day. Because you're gonna go on your phone every day as soon as you wake up. It's right.
You carry the paper all the time.
Yeah, I'm making my screensaver.
That's what I got my screen.
If anybody ever got a 120, a whole 120 on a sheet of paper, was a regular 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper on the front and the back, the whole 120, that came from me. And I laid it out where it was all on one sheet, front and back, and then I laminated it. I had a lot of time at work, right? Then I laminated it, and I would take this with me. I would be able to fold it and take it with me. You know what I'm saying? And when it would get beat up, I'd get a new one. You know what I'm saying? And I would always be carrying it. I still do. I still carry it with me, but it's just digital. You know? Still have to go back to 120. Still have to say, okay, that degree I'm not sharp with. You know what I'm saying? Or there's degrees I'm like, I hate it. I don't have an understanding of it. That's really useful. You know what I mean? And we go back to it. Or I think of new things and I add to them, like in the notes. You know what I'm saying? So I'm always looking at it, always seeing the relevance of it. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's in the literature I'm reading or the things I'm watching, everything. You know what I mean? But the core is supreme mathematics. Okay, that's what the Father gave us because he knew that us being supreme beings was a constant awareness of ourselves. And sadly, in a world where we're the 5%, it's also a study in contrast. You know what I'm saying? So this is how we constantly become aware of ourselves and without ego, yet still, you know, with some kind of self-esteem, right? Self-esteem and ego is a very thin line. You know what I'm saying, right? Very thin line. Cue the persuaders, right? It's a very thin line, right? Between self-esteem and ego. Between knowing he's a true and living God and having that kind of confidence, though, and then just being an ego-driven asshole who thinks that everything really does revolve around you. You know what I mean? I've heard many way older than me say shit like, well, I'm God, so this is what I had to do. You know what I'm saying? And even legends in this nation, you know? And the one rule I had is that when they said stuff like that, they were not ruled, but the theory I tested is that every time they said that, they were wrong about that subject. They were wrong. They were being emotional about that. You know what I mean? So, right? Easiest way to find out if you're dealing with massive ego or real self-esteem, though, it's real easy. Your relationships with women.
Mm-hmm.
It's the easiest way to tell. You know what I mean? She'd be a total bitch, though. But I'm just saying, like,
You still.
yeah, you know, whether you're, you know, how you deal with it, you know what I mean? Right? It's because I said it, though. And you follow me with Earth. It's supposed to revolve around me. Now keep on revolving. Right? That's a slower speed. Keep going, right? But that's what happens, though. We have ego. We don't want to explain things. You know what I'm saying? We don't want to deal with the test, you know? Because I say that not because that's, you know, teaching, in general, teaching an adult is the hardest thing to do. You know? If all of you are adults in this room, it's only because you're willing to learn, and so you're learning. But to go out and teach an adult, it's the hardest thing to do. You know what I'm saying? Especially with someone that you are deliberately dealing with because you're emotionally attached. You know? And that includes attraction. We'll be acting like attraction is not an emotion.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. That's an attraction, though. You know.
Yeah.
I've heard all types of builds, and I see them all though about the science of attraction and how like you're attracted because she has fertile hips and things like that and everything like that. Well, what about you? You're not having any children. Why are you still attracted to that? Now you could be attracted to, you know, women with no body. Right? I'm done having children. I'll just deal with women that have no thickness at all, like zero thickness. You know what I'm saying?
Ain't gonna happen. Ain't
No,
gonna happen.
but I'm saying, yes,
Ain't gonna happen. Not in this life.
can't do it, right?
No
Yeah.
way.
You know, so they can't look like Kate Moss. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So what I'm saying is though is that it's an emotion. It's an emotion. You know what I'm saying? Right? You know, it's all like that. So you know, acknowledge your emotions. Acknowledge how you're moving. You know what I'm saying? Right? Even the sciences that you learn need your own control of your emotions to activate them. You know? If you learn martial arts, if you learn any type of way of fighting, though, right? You need to learn how to engage your aggression and override your fear, right? That's an emotion. You're charging yourself up. You think about it. You know what I'm saying? That's what I tell students, for example, they're like, you know, as soon as, you know, I'm learning stuff, like every student I teach is always bigger than me, right? And I'm like, wait, you're like this big. What the fuck are you getting scared of? Like, and I'm teaching you more shit. So how are you gonna get scared in a fight? You know what I'm saying? I tell you, a lot of people would not fight if they were in my body, though. They would just be like passive as hell. But that's it. But in the martial arts, I was saying, don't forget your thought that. In the martial arts, a lot of times I tell them, listen, you get scared, just think of an animal. Think of the animal. Like you're doing the elephant technique, then move like an elephant. You know what I'm saying? Engage that mentality. But that's emotion. You're not an elephant. You have to think of like, oh, you're an elephant. I'm just charging through. You know what I'm saying? It's an elephant, right?
Right.
Tusk elephant. You know
You
what I
know,
mean?
I said to Math, I said, man, the wrong person is just think Sunez is a small fry or some shit like that. It's his fucking feelings flipped upside down on the train tracks. I swear to God, you're gonna think this nigga something plate, little shrimp back.
Honestly,
he's gonna jump off the roof of your ass.
I'll tell you this though, right? The only thing that martial arts has given me different from other people is that if I need to, I'm willing to fight. Doesn't mean that somebody that's big, I'm like, wow, this is gonna be a tough one. I'm just willing to do that. But I respect my skill enough where I respect my ability to get out of the way of everything.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Because what I said is humble about you is that with this skill that you have, you know how many cocky niggas in the hood be trying to bully people and think they could, you know, take over shit. Like niggas that got shot easy. Like you come across mad, humble. You don't even bring that towards nobody. You know what I'm saying? And that's the best quality about somebody with that skill that you have. You know what I'm saying? You're not taking advantage.
That's the way I was taught. When I was taught by Siegel and Bobby Whitaker, he spent a lot of time teaching us about mercy.
Mm.
And Siegel and Bobby Whitaker he's not a white guy or even Asian. He's a knowledge seeker.
Right.
He's a knowledge seeker. You know what I mean? And he spent a lot of time teaching us, like when I got at a certain level, he says, okay, now you have to learn mercy. And he told me, I don't have to teach you that much because you do, but you have to have mercy. You know?
Yeah, I believe one of the things I picked up from training was being able to size people up where I could get them, and also being able to see he doesn't want to fight, man.
Right.
He's not dangerous, or he don't got it like that.
Right.
So when that Marine did that to a brother on the train,
That was some sucker
he
shit.
was because he's homeless and skinny, and he's supposed to be a trained man.
Right.
You can't tell that the man is not dangerous.
That's a great example, God. A great example. He did devilishment. He used his power though. You know what I'm saying?
And he still didn't get arrested.
Yeah, I think they're trying to charge him now with like second-degree manslaughter and stuff.
At the end of the day, I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. I said I couldn't have been on that train because I'd have kicked that nigga right in his eye. Michael Jackson would have died that day because I'd have kicked that devil right in his fucking face. Straight like that.
Yeah.
No, but hold on, not even only that. They was helping. They was holding him down.
I
What the jail for?
said
Yo, it would have been a riot. I
In
don't know
today's
what
time,
happened.
but you know what? In today's time too, I find people are more observing of hell than engaged with it. You know, like when I was a kid, elders that have no business getting in the way of shit, I saw them get in the way of shit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like they can't fight it all, but they can get in the way of shit.
We
You know
mind
what I'm
our
saying?
business too
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, not yeah. Yeah.
Minding your business has been weaponized
Yeah.
amongst our community, and we don't do shit about shit no more.
That I would have kicked homeboy in his face. But one thing I'm not gonna get involved in is this dude arguing with his girl and he whooping the apple. Look, y'all go hand wish I got a hand. I'm not getting involved in that. I've seen many situations where people got involved where a guy argued with his girl and they both killed that dude.
Yeah, I see.
Right. As like a common enemy thing. Yeah.
So I'm not getting involved in
Yeah.
nobody. He fighting his girl.
That's
I don't know what
a
she
tricky one,
did. She
yo.
probably called his mother a crack whore. She like died with ass. Like I don't know what she did. I'm not getting involved in that. You know what I'm saying? That's
And they'll be
personal.
back together.
And then they're gonna be right back together the next day. You know what I'm saying? I tell my sisters that all the time. Like, you gonna still fuck with the nigga? Don't come to me getting involved in that shit. You know what I'm saying?
Very passionate.
Yo, I seen a story in Florida where an Asian dude interfered with a dude fighting with his girl, and the Asian dude ended up killing homeboy. He got life in jail. Like, I'm not getting involved in that. I'm not getting involved in that.
Damn, they got stay grill down there, so I wonder how
No.
he got life on that.
Because he stepped in a situation
Oh,
where
he
a guy was
stepped in.
arguing with his girl, and he ended up killing that guy arguing with his girl.
They like that don't got nothing to do with you.
Like,
Yeah, that's crazy.
Mind my business. But that right there, my homeboy got choked out, and as many, I know it was numerous original people on that train. You sat there and let that devil kill that man in front of you like that? Really? And then
But let me ask you a question.
and then look how they should feel, because he still didn't get charged, so you should really feel bad.
That's a question. You're on the train and you see a guy beating up on this woman. What's your move? What would you do? What you do, my brother?
Honestly,
Yeah, honestly.
like trying, like I don't know what the situation is. You know, what I'm
You
saying?
you don't know. You see a dude, a brother, beating up on a woman on the train. You don't know what's going on. What would you do? Would you do anything? Do the neutral move, or would you get involved? I don't know. I'm just asking. What's the right thing to do? Is there a right thing? Is there a wrong thing? You know what I mean? I'm just putting that out there.
Right.
Something to think about.
It is something to think about. Man.
How about you,
It's
man?
like, yeah, I mean, I honestly don't even know, because you don't know if it's a couple, you don't know if you ask us that's a girl, you're not gonna.
I've never been in a situation like that. And even though people that know respect my martial skill, I don't have a bouncer skill.
Right.
So nobody looks at my body and I go, hey, listen.
Yeah.
Nobody's, that's not working like that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's like, you know. But I think I've been with gods, right? And we've seen that. And I think I was with Saving Knowledge one time, and this guy was getting he was starting to hit her. You know, and he went and he said, listen, I don't know what y'all doing, you gotta do it on your own time, but you can't do that shit out here.
I respect that.
So that you wanna go beat on her, you take her back home and beat on her.
In the street, on the subway, where is that?
He was on the street, he
On
was
the
walking
street.
through the street.
Okay.
And said, and I was thinking like, yeah, you know, because like sometimes these women, they don't need a guy, like, and he'd beating the hell out of her. But listen, you can't do that without us around, because then we're gonna have to get involved. So like, this is our fucking business. See,
Yeah.
so listen, it's your business, but not out here. It's you put it as our business
That's
too out
true,
here.
too. That's
You know what I'm
true,
saying? So take that shit away. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Just like if it's what we said, because not everybody expect yourself to be Chuck fucking Norris, you know, in a Chuck Norris movie where you just, you know, you beat up the guy and it's all, you know, bullshit and everything, right? But if something's happening that's not right and exact, then you speak up. You know what I'm saying? Then you speak up, because that's what we do. You know what I'm saying? If the guy was, the thing is, right? it didn't go from the guy in the train maybe asking for some shit, and then all of a sudden 2 seconds later he's choked. You know what I'm saying?
He was having an episode.
He was actually he probably was getting a little crazy or whatever like that, right? And then they try to stop him and shit like that, and then it ends up on a choke, right?
I already didn't even touch nobody.
Right.
He was having an episode. I don't think
But
he
we've
took
been on the
medication.
train, though. People that are going nuts on the train, they don't have to be touching anybody to
Right.
make it feel like you will get touched.
Mm.
Right? So let's be honest about that. Don't do no white black shit. People get nuts on the train though, because if it was a white dude getting all crazy and just yelling all crazy, like, oh man, if he gets even closer, and in your mind, you're like, I get the chance to hit one of these wisdom degrees right here. You know what I'm saying? Get to hit the colored man, right? Right? You know you're ready. You know you right. So let's not talk that shit too. It is about race though, because if it was a white bum and he was getting all stupid, he was like, and he was all over you, and like this is nice. I just bought this polo right here. Right? But now we're seeing a brother though, we're feeling some kind of compassion. We're like, listen, I feel bad, things happen. It could be us anytime that we're down on the luck like this, but I ain't got it for him. Like he's gonna have to chill and calm down. You know what I mean? Right? But somebody had to have been aware of that and started to look at that and started to say, listen, we're keeping him subdued or whatever like that. You're going there, but nah, you can't be choking the brother like that. You can't be doing that. You'll kill him like that.
I heard 2 people had his arm. One person had his arms, one person had his legs, one person was choking him.
And it was somebody there saying something to him like, yo, y'all gonna kill him. You know what I'm saying? But I think it was already like done. But somebody was saying like, yo, if he about to definitely kill him, it might have been a Marine too. He was saying some shit in the background, but you know what I'm saying?
Talking about George Floyd?
People don't see as
Somebody
many.
got killed on a train the other day.
People don't see as many
I know.
angles as we do. No matter what, though, we get punished for everything. So when we see something like that happen, we're seeing so many angles. It makes people be peaceful, but also passive. That's why we're more passive. We talk a lot of shit. We'll kill a white man. I didn't see no news. I don't see no news of people killing a white man. We don't kill none of it. We're always talking that shit. We talk this shit the best too. We got mad songs and everything. We'll kill anybody. We see so much ahead. We see our punishment ahead. The trials and tribulations from just doing our due justice on this person. What's gonna happen down the line? Right?
Yeah.
But white people get to live their fantasies though. They don't get punished for things. You know what I'm saying? So they can subdue at all costs though. Live out a dream and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Be a super citizen and shit. You know what I mean? So the psychology is there, This
Because
black
they
man,
really think they could police everything. Like their behavior and everything, bro. Going to the store.
But there's a difference though, right? No matter what though, the most peaceful, we're talking about a macro, the general, the most peaceful black man or the most peaceful white man. That white man is a different kind of peace though, because no matter what, this is his country. This shit is his though. And that's something that black Americans feel a great contrast with other original people from other countries. Because they'll meet a Puerto Rican and be like, he really feels like he's from that country. Right? Because there's an attached culture, music, arts, right? A lineage of Afro-Indigenous, whatever it is that makes them like say, I'm also that, I'm from that. Whereas the black Americans don't have that. That's the thing that, when people say, why did they bring the knowledge here? Because you had to bring it to an empty palate too. No one, the whole world, whoever feels like they have a country or don't, has no knowledge of self. But the easiest way to teach, though, is to give it to someone with no palate of owning anything. So it got to go to the black American immediately. The deepest part of mental warfare. And that mental warfare is having nothing to call your own, to be of anything. That knowledge of gold, that's got to come to the black American here. You see what I'm saying? All roads lead to that first. So when you go out there, he's asking a question because look, Sam, you don't like the situation because you read about negative things in the situation, but all of them suck. All of them suck. I learned martial arts though to do the best of your ability what is right, because, and this has to do with my physical build. Everybody's a challenge. No one's an easy fight. You know what I'm saying? No one's an easy fight. And if somebody fights me, they're gonna get 100%. They're not gonna get a little bit.
They're gonna get the shot.
You know what I'm saying? But I'm saying, like, that humility, everyone can be a challenge, everyone is a problem. But how you react to situations is really the core of martial arts. Not punch goes here, I go here, it's that, scenarios. Why is Kobe such a great ball player? Because he would visualize different scenarios. That's why he became a legend. He also do mental games where he would vision different scenarios, like he puts his hand here, right? The dribble, the shot, everything is being visualized. Countless different scenarios being played out in his head. The scenario that you fear is the scenario you walk into. Because you're in the Bronx, though. I lived in the Bronx, though. I saw more problems with women in the Bronx than every other borough I've
I
been
don't
in.
fuck with Bronx women. I'm born and raised.
But you're in the Bronx, so
I'm
you're
not-
walking through the situations,
I
though.
walk past them, obviously.
Right? No, but that's what I'm saying. What you fear will be, because there'll be a day where something goes there. You know what I'm saying? And the truth is, right? We got daughters, right? We would hope that someone would say, listen, you're gonna beat on her, you can't do that out here. And at least give that woman a choice. So am I gonna go back home with him to get my shit snuffed out? Or am I gonna say, I shouldn't be hit though, I'm not going with him now? She deserves that choice. And the thing is though, it's your ego, not your ego. I'm not talking about you. I'm saying it's our ego that'll say, I'm not getting into the situation. You know why? You say that because you can't finish the situation. You're not sure if you could finish it. It could be a problem. No, they get somebody. We can't call police though. But that's what the police was for.
Yeah, that's what I told some sucker. Yo,
That's what the police was for. Like, you're doing some dumb shit though, but it's not really my business to be handling. I don't really, but that shit shouldn't be out here. Gotta go call the cop. You know what I'm saying? And I'm saying that because I see not all those people that like, oh, the cops are good and shit like that. But listen, one of my own students is a cop. And the God teaches other cops how to police. He has that job. You know what I'm saying? So there are, it's 5% out of 100, right? But there are cops being taught by God that is learning how to do the shit the correct way in our communities. You know what I mean? But that's what they would be for. Because in some situation, though, you be the last man. You be the only one. You know what I mean? Right? I was at the wake for my enlightenment, right? And everybody was like, yo, there's no elders left. You got to be the one to build. Yeah, so? We was building up to this, though. They said that this was what happened. The whole time that I was living, I didn't want it to be. I was like, I dread the day but it's here. And so I'm that. That's what it is. You know what I mean? Sometimes you be called upon. And you got to perform at that moment, though. You ain't going to like the moment, though. It ain't going to be perfectly tailored for you. There's no fight that is like, oh, this is just the way I worked it out. Because you know the fight that is like, yo, this is exactly, I could whip this motherfucker's ass down. That's the fight that you'll whip and you'll be like, nah, that's mercy. Can't even do all this shit, man. Can't even do all that. You know? You'd be like, oh, it'll be a white guy that deserves to get beat down. When you start beating him down, you realize you're just weak and wicked.
Right.
I took out some of that wickedness, though. Now it's just weak. Right?
Yeah.
It's never as pleasurable. That's why the real gift of martial arts, though, is to be able to get out of situations. You know, a lot of people be trying to do shit. You know what I mean? I'll walk through things where people deliberately try to hit me, like bang into me and shit like that, and I just glide. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I almost had somebody almost fall because they were trying to walk into me on purpose, though. And I moved at the last minute on some Matrix shit, and they almost stumbled. I said, "Hey,
Yeah, right.
You want yourself.
Do that.
Thought
God.
thought you was acting you was who wanted, yeah." You know? Right? Sometimes it's just a light skill, you know what I'm saying? You know? But I travel so much though, but like I travel with my daughters and stuff like that. You want to invade fights, not be around them. You know what I'm saying? If you ever with your children though, and you got into a fight, you have to fight so fast and so quick on that.
Right.
You don't have no time to play. Let's say they get scared and they go behind you, but they go behind you in a bad way and they get hit. Or they run behind, they stay behind you, but too far away and they're in the street. You can't trust your protocol that it'll be followed. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah, you know? You keep it simple. So listen, you just get behind me, you know? Right? No, you can't trust any of that shit though. I always assume that they're gonna screw it up. So I make sure I don't get into fights, you know? But sometimes you gotta open your mouth. You know what I'm saying? And you'd be surprised the way that you say things, the way that you wisdom, your understanding is the power.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
The God said that though, and when he said that, the guy stopped. He was like, man, fuck you and shit like that. But then he left. And he said, fuck the God, but he was also saying, fuck this bitch. Right? So they made their choices and shit. Sometimes, you know, like this is our community though. When the shit was being burned down, they didn't say, man, I don't want to get these people want shit and they're gonna have to fight me for some shit they want to steal. Nah, man, the father took the guards and said, listen, we're gonna go out there and tell them no. And they stopped the shit. You know what I mean? You know that they were outnumbered, and they stopped it. I know I talked about this to Umala all the time because he was one of them. He was one of them walking there. They knew they were doing their karate and all that kind of shit, you know what I mean? But they were still outnumbered like a lot. The whole community was pissed off.
Martin Luther King died.
If people was pissed off, people are pissed off by George Floyd because it's 2020 fucking 3, you know what I'm saying? Like it's now, like, and nothing's changed. But with Martin, it's different. No matter what people thought about him, though, he's one of the greatest, most dynamic speakers, you know what I mean? And no matter what, all this shit about, like, we learned it, we pick a side and shit, like, that's not real life. In real life, he said shit beautifully that resonated, no matter what. So if he was like, I'm not gonna get hit by no dogs and just stand like that, you still was feeling it, right? You know, he still was doing something for you, right? It wasn't like he was a politician guy and you were like,
What was crazy, what I learned is that in his last months for preachers, he was with Elijah Muhammad. He was building with Elijah Muhammad and he was getting knowledge of himself.
he was aware of a lot of people that
knowledge of
himself.
Malcolm X as well.
He was his last speeches also were very anti-capitalistic.
Very
He's
anti-capital.
economic, talk about economics of black people.
Because he was sitting around Elijah Muhammad.
And Malcolm.
One of his last speeches was also very questioning the entire premise of his whole movement.
Yes, he did.
He was like, I don't know if this is working out the way it was supposed to.
He said something about he walked his people into a burning house.
Yeah.
That's why they
They
don't
don't
talk
talk about the later Muhammad. They don't talk about the later Muhammad.
With him and Malcolm.
They don't talk about the later
I think I
Muhammad.
know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I gotta look it up. I think I have that book.
I gotta read it.
They don't talk about the
yeah.
later Martin. They don't talk about Martin in his last few months and he was going off.
So the perspective, it's the perspective. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, we also have to will ourselves to do the right thing. Do the right thing is not easy. You know what I'm saying? You have to will yourself to do the right thing. I don't want you to be a champion superhero Black Chuck Norris for these hoes out there getting whipped up. But I'm just saying. Captain Saberho, man. Sunez said, be Captain Saberho. See? Now the trolls would be like, Sunez kid, you know, like, well, now Sunez hates the hoes. Don't help him. Like, I didn't say any of that shit.
Can you clean a hoe up? Can you refine a hoe?
If she wants to be
Can you
refined.
make the hoe that her?
It's really not about her being a hoe. It's about her being an adult doing the wrong shit.
Mm.
And how well do you reform wrong shit?
Word.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
If she wants to be.
Yeah. Listen, look, if you're out late at night, really late at night, half of the fights you're going to see, they need to go on. No, I'm keeping it real, right? No, after a certain time, though, these fights is part of the community. That's the shit that's going on. Because a lot of, it's at night. Business is outside, not inside. And so the fights are outside. You know, I'm keeping it real. Like you're the one that doesn't belong there. You know, but like sometimes there's certain situations where you see people like, what happens if some young kid, peace God, what if some young kid, you know, 15 or like looks like a teenager is with her boyfriend or something, she's getting hit. That shit don't make no sense now. Does not say nothing, right? You'd be like, you know, listen, young man, what the fuck, you know? What the fuck you doing? You know? That's being, you know, that's your community. Like, you gotta say something. You gotta do something. You know what I mean? And we know that everything is dangerous, right? Right?
They're real, huh?
All of these raps that we hear are 20-year-olds talking about the shit that, if they did it, they're talking about shit they did when they were 15. So they were pieces of shit when they were in their teenage years. They were shooting all that kind of shit when they were in their teenage years. And now they're enlightened MCs at 21. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, you know, any situation is dangerous. Anyone. Any situation. You know? And trusting, you know, a youngster with a weapon is worse than an adult with a weapon. You know? But there are certain situations where you have to know how to move. You know what I'm saying? You're in a subway car. That shit happened in a subway car. So that shit was moving the whole time. And that's why it feels and is more unacceptable, right? You're there riding in the fucking train. It's not stopping, and you're supposed to say something like, listen, super white man Marine, you know, Duke, G.I. Joe Duke, get off his fucking neck, you know?
Yeah.
Okay? He's not moving anymore. Like, he's not doing anything. Just let go of him, right? People don't say nothing, you know what I'm saying? And look, with people that are trained to kill, and look, to me, if they grafted, don't get them in a position where they're killing.
Mm-hmm.
Because that bloodthirst will take over.
Yeah.
That's what you saw.
Pops was a cop.
You know, like, let's say, look, he's a cop and all that. But look, it's not even about the cop thing. It's about the Marine thing. They were trained to kill. It's trained to kill. So you put them in a situation, they don't not kill things. Right? They don't not kill things. They go places to kill things. It's not even like a cop. They go to kill foreigners. You know what I'm saying? You put them in the mindset back in this country, though, black people are their foreigners. You know what I'm saying? Right? But I think a lot of times shit like that happens because our people are scared of white folk.
Oh, that's
That's
a
a
fact.
fact.
That's a
Yeah.
Scared
fact.
of white folk.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
I know that. That's why I don't really
Scared
fuck
of
with my
scared
people.
of the repercussions,
I don't
like
fuck
you
with my
said.
people.
Like,
Right.
you know,
Because if we
trouble
do
that
something,
you gonna.
because we can fight back, beat the shit out of the white guy and say, listen, black man, you got crazy, sit the fuck down, I fucked you up, and then they go to jail. You know what I'm saying? And then he's got, look at the thing. They'd probably be right. He's got all the accolades. His father is a police officer. That's supposed to be a good thing, right? He's like grandfather. He's a Marine. That's supposed to be a good thing. Now he has accolades and shit. It's like, how dare you attack a Marine? You know what I mean? So, yeah, we be seeing ahead and shit be happening horrible in front of us because we see a future of horror. So now the present is horrible in a different way. You know? That's why I always think of these scenarios and what you do. You know what I'm saying? Think of these scenarios. You know? Because it's going to happen again. There'll be bums that get stupid. There's more meds out there fucking up people's heads than ever before. People think that's crazy. He's doing it because he got guns, or they got guns, and if we took away access to guns and all that shit. No, it's because they're fucking on meds and crazy.
Yeah.
Guns was always here. Guns was always here. You know what I mean? It wasn't shooting like that.
Mental health crisis.
Right? They're all on all these meds and they got guns. That's the combo.
Mhm.
So you gotta be ready for situations. It's a great question, man. We've done riff for a while with this. But this knowledge of self, everything like that is now, how is it tested? Your contrast to the world. How do you contrast with the world? How do you better it though? How are you willing to be different though? And how will you be different? Right? When do you speak up? Do you speak up every time somebody says dumb shit? Right? Right? How many times does my eye I get a twitch when people say horrible shit about music on the train? I can't answer them. Imagine they'd be arguing all day. I can't remember what it was, but somebody said some real heinous shit about something. Said somebody that was dope, that was whack, something like that. But I've been in ciphers like public transportation where I've heard people say like we was talking about Anita Baker. So people say Anita Baker's whack. I almost got a stomach ache though. I just let it go. I'm not
That's
arguing.
crazy.
It was young saying some shit like
No,
that.
no, like pretty much adults, and I was like, listen.
That's crazy.
I was cringing. It took every fiber of me to ignore that. I'm not arguing with it. If you think that, you're not worthy of arguing.
Right.
You actually think that, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. And there are women I won't date though. They go, they don't like Sade, Anita Baker. There's certain people like.
You tell a lot about a person.
You gotta
by
know
the
what
music
your
they listen
knowledge
to.
and their
Tell
knowledge.
a lot about
There's
a
something
person by the
Oscar
music
Wilde
they
used to
listen
say that. I forgot. He said it very clever though, but he was like, listen, if you like the wrong kind of art, then you're the wrong kind of person. And it was like, yeah, like, you know, like I'm Puerto Rican, right? I have a Puerto Rican background though, but if you think Bad Bunny is an icon,
A man named Bad Bunny.
yeah, man with a female's porn star.
Right, with
I keep forgetting that was a dude.
yeah, you got a female porn star name.
If you enjoy his music, that's one thing. Maybe we could talk, but if you think he's some icon, legendary musician, I turn Frazier right there. I turn Frazier, I can't do it. But let me see what else is in here. I see some good people in here now. Okay. There was something LT said, and that's what I was going to read. I heard some of the gods say that Musa never existed and that the Prophet Muhammad was a white man. Do you know those to be true statements? They don't know those to be true statements. That's all you need. What's more important? No, they don't. They don't. Yeah, you go.
It's
Prophet
all
Muhammad was a white man.
speculative.
That's very FBA-ish. Why is that important though? Like, let's say Prophet Muhammad was a white guy that got Islam and shit like that. Why is that? And how are you judging white men? Because they were all by that time going to be mixed, right? So what? Let's say foundational Black Americans, what they call him white though, they wouldn't have called him white, Prophet Muhammad. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, I don't know how this ruined. Musa never existed. That's stupid because Musa has a title of teacher. So someone taught that devil. Like, this is where like people get brainiac idiots because someone taught those devils and got them back there to be effective. They were exiled. Who taught them?
Yeah.
No, Yaqub made them.
Yaqub made them.
But when they got exiled, it was Musa who taught them to come back. But again, just like Yaqub, Musa is an entity, not necessarily just one person doing that. How did they teach him to engage with society, to be civilized enough to embed themselves, build homes for themselves, meaning that they could construct a life? You know what I'm saying? What do you think? What do you think Ellis Island is? Ellis Island was to inspect all the people trying to pass for white and say, could they build homes for themselves? Could they?
That's what. I didn't know
Because
that.
you know any Black Americans that say, when I came to America, I came through Ellis Island.
Nah, that was
Do you know any?
Europeans.
Are there any Puerto Ricans that came through Ellis Island? I don't know anybody that came through Ellis Island. We didn't come. Yeah, we didn't come. I don't know anybody.
Wow.
Any Dominicans? You know what I mean?
Wow.
Right? Did they ask him what type of merengue they like before they got in? There's nobody. No, that was for inspecting possible whites. You know, do we take these Italians? You know, we need to, right? All these things, right? Inspect them. The doctor. You know what I'm saying? Inspecting and examining, right? Classifying them, right? So Musa was an entity, a group of teachers, because it was a lot. People be reading a lesson and they be thinking it's like 5 whites. And Musa's like in a classroom with like 10 whites and shit.
Because people.
It's a whole bunch of people. It's a whole
Moses, though,
it's
right?
a village level. It's a lot of people.
Isn't it based on the Moses reference, though? Why someone would think that we speaking about one particular individual?
It harkens to that because, again, Moses, they say the etymology Musa means teacher, great civilizer.
Right.
And later, that title is being used in the Bible as well. But the Bible Musa isn't the Moses.
No.
Musa in the lesson is not Moses in the Bible.
Okay.
But they have the same duties, similar duties, right? If he gives the tablets and says, don't do these things, right? That's because they were doing those things. Right? Don't murder, don't adultery. You don't have to say that and they ain't doing it, right? Just like I shouldn't have to be saying, hey, don't eat pork.
Right.
We eat pork. I don't have to tell you that now. I don't have to bring a tablet and say, we don't eat pork, Sam. Like, he's not eating pork. But they was doing that devilish thing, so they had to bring the tablet. Big ones, too, because they were doing a lot of shit, right? So the teacher, he comes there to re-engage you, prepare you to be part of society and do what you were destined to do. Like any good teacher, fulfill your skills, your desires, your hopes, your dreams, right? We think of teachers as programming and for good. That's not what a teacher is. A teacher is one that gives you the forms to find your abilities, right? But the teaching that we know is school teaching, westernized world of teaching, of indoctrination. So that's why we look at it only through those lenses. Musa's neither good nor bad. He taught him all the forms, all the realities that they were going to be engaged with. They chose the reality that they wanted to live. He didn't make them more devil. Hey, you guys, I'm going to make you more devil. He didn't do no grafting. He just taught them, and the form was the world they were about to go into. You know?
But see the way it sounds in the 1 to 14, like when they break that down, like he taught them devilishment, how to master the original
He
man,
did. That was
stealing.
But they were already doing devilishment. So when he says he taught them devil,
it's making them aware that this is going on.
He's teaching them how to do it properly so that they don't get kicked out.
Right.
That's
Okay,
but hold on, I'm gonna teach you how to rob the jewelry store and not get caught.
Right.
We have a whole world here that teaches people how to rob.
Yeah. And hopefully don't get
Wait.
Taxes.
No, I'm not trying to equate one with the other, right? But low lives rob, and they were robbing because they had to feed themselves, right? And people had to teach another person to rob and say, listen, we're gonna rob. I'm teaching you how to do this devilish one. I'm teaching you how to rob. Okay. Teaching you how to take this stone, but it's gonna survive you better because you can't get a job now. Right? So the idea of teaching somebody the wrong thing isn't always because you're making them more devilish men. This is the people he was dealing with.
Okay.
This is what they were.
That's how I took it. It was like
For the most part, they were.
The
for the most part, if we read that wisdom degree in the 1 to 14, they were savage. So they were already living a beast way of life, though, and that beast way of life is what he was taking out of them, right? But it doesn't mean that he could change their mentality.
So what about the how to master the original man?
Right. But he's teaching them to be what they are. But he can't teach them not to be. He can teach them not to be a beast, right? Not go on all savage and just immediately go down zombie and start killing, start causing lies, devilishment, and it's easily traceable back to them. No, he taught them cunning. He taught them survival. He taught them how to live. You know, politics of shit, all this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? They had to learn. So if you're gonna say Musa's this, that, I feel like when people do that, they're babyfying the lesson. They're making it babyish. Musa was white because he was evil, and he did evil, and he's white, so he's evil. It don't mean shit of what he was doing. Stop making good. That's a way to put good or bad and make it a baby lesson, babyish. This 120 is not MSNBC. Trump is bad, and we've been trying to do good things. We just can't do good things, right? Don't babyish the lessons. Don't make it good and evil. It's not He-Man and Skeletor. You know what I'm saying? Right. It's not that.
Yeah.
Right? To make it childish, So Musa's white though, so everything he did was wrong and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? When you teach hundreds of people, and I'm saying I have experience with that. If you count everybody I've taught, not everybody, I can't teach everyone to be as me. And the truth is, there's many people I've taught that are they made their own way to do devilishment or not. You know what I'm saying? That means that you could say I Musa them. That's gonna be
Sunez just called himself Musa.
yeah. But what I'm saying is, right, I gave him the tools to do stuff. Yeah. See, I knew he taught him to do that devilish spin. You know what I mean? Right?
You setting yourself
yeah,
up.
I know for the sample, yeah. Right? But the thing is, right, what I'm saying is though, is that they're gonna be what they're gonna be. You can't make that person be good. If we want to use such a simple word, right? A very very broad but very biased word. You know what I'm saying? It's perspective word. Good. I can't make people good. You see what I'm saying? You're naturally that, though. I taught you that you're the true and living God, and that reality is real if you live mathematically, because mathematics is always forward counting toward righteousness. In other words, that mathematics doesn't succeed 1 to 1 to 2 if it is not in a forward progression of right knowledge, more right knowledge used correctly. You see what I'm saying? Mathematics favors the righteous and thus the good in general, if we would use that perspective. Not so in the other way. But that doesn't mean that if I taught you this, though, it couldn't be used for evil. You know what I mean? And the truth is that no matter what, though, who is to know?
Well, it's a lot of people
Yeah.
using the knowledge as evil, because I've come across them, and they're a lot of people are perpetrating a serious fraud like this is who they are.
Yeah. Isn't that with everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
LTU said, as we knowing, learning, and teaching about folks who never existed makes me think of Santa Claus, Christianity, other fairy tales. I get that you see that.
Right.
But I know where shit like that comes from. Where we look at all these lessons, though, we need to stop looking. Every time we hear those sayings, though, don't hate the player, hate the game. We're looking at the players in 120, and we're not looking at the entire game. That it just has chess pieces that have to be there regardless to what. And this story is told by those chess pieces, whether you call them Musa or not, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Somebody had to give him stuff. So Musa could have had the same. He taught those savages, though. You really think he could go into that him and a bevy of teachers could go up there and civilize all of them, though, and make them righteous? That's not a possible feat. But his duty was not to kill them all. He was told to teach them. See what I'm saying? Just like if we have jails that try to reform people, which really don't, but if you try to reform people, it doesn't mean that in the most righteous ways. It doesn't mean that they're not just gonna come out and say, "Yo, I'm doing crime anyway." Right? There's so crimes that affect and harm people. Right? That's not a guarantee, right? The most righteous forms of rehabilitation. You make the prison peaceful. You change everything, right? It's not violent, nothing. It's not like cages. They're not treated like animals, all that.
It's still
possible. He comes out and says,
fuck that.
Yeah, man. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's why it's always a war for the small percentage. It's always a war for the small percentage. The small amount. That's why I get real big on like certain rap and everything like that, right? Because most of the people don't do anything. It's not that they're influenced by what they hear in music or anything like that. They're actually not, because they don't do shit. Most people do nothing. So they're not influenced by bad music, good sayings, righteous things. They're not influenced by anything. Syl Johnson, any way the wind blows, it's cool with me. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
It doesn't matter. But the reason that I would lambast, besides the quality of the music, the lyrics that are not right and exact, the lyrics that are deliberately banking on the simple, profane, the devilishment, right, is because the small percentage of people that will do are influenced by the success of the others that did. Right. And if they see that pattern is successful, then they will go do. And that's the problem. You know what I mean? So that's why I always say with certain MCs that they want to talk shit and everything like that, and then they make a foundation. They harm the millions and help the thousands. It's the Carnegie law. You know what I mean? Carnegie owned everything. robber baron, everything, devilish. At the end of his career, he sets up libraries. Real clever. Libraries don't exist in New York City if he didn't do that. Sounds great, right? It's awesome, right? But he owns every fucking thing. So at what cost did you get knowledge that should have been given to you anyway? He give you the knowledge though, because now he realizes it's going to be so hard to figure it out and to turn that knowledge into wisdom, because you don't have the tools and you're just going to learn stuff, but you're not going to get the tools. So it's cool. Make a library. Right? It's fine. You get the knowledge now. Doesn't matter. You won't be able to take it through mathematics, right? You won't be able to use it, really see it, get a purpose, live it out.
My Musa is just mind his business.
It's a good question. It's a good question. I can say as a teacher though, the teachers teach.
True.
Teachers teach. You know what I mean? Right? So in his essay, he's gonna have Yaqub do everything the same though, but it's Musa who's gonna assassinate all the devils.
You gotta set yourself up.
Good call. Yeah. I'm not gonna get you Yaqub. I'm gonna get the easier target. When all the devils are in one place though. Boom. Harmony, you said my enlightener had me born times the mathematics, alphabets, and degrees as a method of memorization. Something fun that helped me memorize the alphabets was listening to Jizz's alphabets on repeat. Yeah, that's a great song. That's a great song. Record myself and play it back as well. Yes, that works too. That's what Firstborn Prince was doing, giving his, 120. Thank you, King. I appreciate that.
You go to sleep at night, put your headphones on, the subconscious mind.
Self-I build. You said the phone in hand recording is a people's way of engaging nowadays. It's an invisible wall barrier, a form of distancing from the actual situation or circumstance. That's a great point, God. King, you said that's tricky. One, when you see couples fighting, because I've known people to lose their lives by getting involved, right? That's what the God said too, where the couple turn and double team the person trying to help.
What a way to go out. At least you went out with good intentions. That would be tight.
I will say this though: when in doubt, save the children. When in doubt, if you're in doubt, like, is this about the children? Then get Larry David though. If you have to be Larry David though, do it for the children. Just be like, it's not kids. I don't know. Yeah. Harmony said sometimes you get involved with couples fighting. Next thing you know, they start jumping you. Oh, this is a regular thing. This is a thing. Yeah. Contrary to whatever skills people attribute to me, I'm not out there walking like Chuck Norris in the street. You know what I mean? Like,
stopping couples from bashing each other. Yo,
King, you said you've seen it twice. The chicks jumped on the rescuer's back while the abusive husband punched and stabbed.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
A lot of times when this shit happens, and I've seen it when it works, it's because people don't say not to do that. They say, take that shit out of here.
Right.
Like, do
Go
your
somewhere
shit
with
somewhere.
that.
Yeah, go somewhere else with that shit. Beat her up on your own time. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Yeah.
The reverse psychology shit.
Yeah.
If it works, it works.
Peace to the God, Sim. You said a man got to be mindful doing an answer cipher like that. It's ethical to protect women from violence, compassion. Indeed, a wise God is able to diffuse a lot more than the average man. Indeed. Yeah. King said, hit him with the Jim Kelly plus lessons and fees. Sim, you said it's not helpful to have a fear of getting hurt with the intention to protect a woman, child from violence. Wait. Oh, shit, it went up. I lost it. Not that it's easy, just that it's something to keep in mind. Yeah. You say you're gonna headbutt people. I'm not even gonna read that. I don't think you have a big forehead. Plus, district, you said. Plus, you never know if she's like getting hit on if this relationship is based upon argument.
Some chicks that like that shit. They want to fight.
Yeah.
Nigga.
You know what it reminds me of though? What I covered was Pun and Liza. You know what I'm saying? And when you meet Liza though, she definitely is the woman that definitely could hit back. You know what I'm saying? Like she was as tough as they come. You know what I'm saying? So like people would say, "Oh look, you know, why do we laud Pun and why are we always hyping up Pun? He was a wife beater and stuff like that." I'm like, I think she hit back too.
And he was like, she probably could have.
Getting
busy.
She was definitely bobbing and weaving. Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
At some point, it's
And like I said, like,
fucking,
it's hard to judge because sometimes people be in their own dysfunctional relationship.
Right.
Most relationships don't work. So technically, let's say on a real level, unless the relationship really works, all the relationships that didn't work out are nearly all dysfunctional. I'm saying that as myself too. They were dysfunctional on too many levels. Lots of the relationships that exist today that will continue to exist are dysfunctional. And people are used to if 85 don't make 85 relationships. 85 is do 85 things. So that's what we're out there seeing. So people think that people are in love, that it's all love. Nah, it's whatever your 80, whatever 85er you brought into the relationship is 85er that you deal with. You know, so we got to deal with it though. You know, I could be in a relationship and all out of nowhere we'll be together for a long time, and she says, "I love Bad Bunny. I just never told you." This is dysfunction. I've been living in a dysfunctional relationship this whole time. It's bullshit. King, you said, is it safe to say when people refer to prophets that didn't exist are more so allegory, aka stories within a story? Yes, but the people that say they don't exist, though, a lot of people are like, that didn't exist, this didn't exist. They usually give me no archaeological data either. You know what I'm saying? And yes, it's oddball because I'm actually to prove the existence of someone that the burden of proof is not to prove that he doesn't exist. The burden of proof is to prove that he does exist. You know, my point is that the whole exercise is a waste because these are the records that we have. Let's treat them like the records that we have with their massive flaws and get the aspect of the stories down. Everybody that has found great history, most of the great history that has been found about our civilizations is because people analyze things that were allegorical. So you can't not just say, "Oh, it's just, this, that," or "They're just white people, so it was bullshit." That's not how you're going to get to the story of history because someone wrote that story now. Why did they write that story? You see? Right? And the thing that we can prove, though, is that these stories of Muhammad and things like that they were being told for that many amount of years. Right? So that's what makes the story relevant to study in that sense. Indeed. Right. Great point. Indeed. Forgotten, meaning they possess the ability already. Right. District, you said they went Sabbath, so they had to be taught to be brought back into the light of their duty, of which I don't know if I would use the word light, though. It makes it holy. I don't know if I would use that word. The devil's got light. Like, I have to be a son of a bitch. I don't. Yeah. See, that's the thing about like ancient scripture and everything like that. It makes everything epic, though. And it's just a bunch of pieces of shit that they didn't want to kill out of your own humanity or something like that, and then they just teach them, and they just kicked ass. You know what I mean? They really did good for themselves. These crackers. LT, you said great build. Many guys do say that Musa is Moses' Bible. Good that you corrected that. Proper education always corrects errors. Indeed. U.S. district said their characteristics and behaviors are indeed similar. Allegedly, Moses, the Bible, observed the serpent in the wilderness, and Musa told the devils the forgotten trick knowledge in the lesson. Yeah, absolutely. Mhm. But a lot of times we go through things, and a lot of gods rebuke a lot of these old stories because they hate the epic religious nature of all of this stuff gets to be. But I think the thing that is most religious is not the story per se, whether it exists or not. It's this idea of that it must happen and so shall it be. That people weren't making real time decisions that could affect its continuance and things like that. You know what I'm saying? It's real things, you know. We could be like hundreds of years from now and they'll just talk about Jordan's 6 championships as the same thing. You know. He willed it, right? He gathered Pippen and other white centers and was able to still do this, like, you know, shit like that. Right? But it isn't in real life it isn't as epic. You know what I'm saying? Right? All right. It is 9:30. I've been here for 3 hours. I've had more than 3 hours, right?
Yeah.
All right. Does anybody have any questions about anything?
Yeah, I got one.
Please ask.
He said, Master Shah Muhammad came over here to the wilderness of North America. He taught the armed Elijah Muhammad.
Yes.
And armed Elijah Muhammad taught the nation. Now, there's a lot of taught the supreme mathematics, not Farad. Correct?
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
All right.
Supreme mathematics and supreme alphabet are from Allah the Father.
Right. But that didn't come until he left the temple. Right?
Yes.
And then that came out on the street.
Right. He developed
It
that.
wasn't taught nothing in the nation. That wasn't taught in the nation.
No. But because he was teaching so freely, right? The things he taught so freely in the street, they would have found it out pretty soon.
They would do what?
They found it out pretty soon after.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
After the fact.
Because he's teaching it in the street. Like he's not hiding anything.
Right.
Or I'm not gonna say hiding, that's not a good word to equate that to the Nation of Islam. The Nation of Islam wasn't hiding knowledge. They just were keeping it inside that area, you know? Because it's a hierarchical structure. You know? So you have to earn it though.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like saying that because like the NOI doing that is not different than anything else. We're the ones that are different, not them. The idea of keeping knowledge secret or until someone graduates to certain levels until they the pyramid structure, that's what everybody did before, right? You get in the Buddhist temple and you're learning martial arts and couple, you're not gonna get. You got to work your way up for years and years, your whole life to the 36th chamber. You know what I'm saying? Like to get to that 35th chamber. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
you got to work your way there. Confucius, same thing. The teachings took a long time. You know. So
the Masons also they was part of that Shriner teaching.
Remember,
10%.
The Masons are always had information and knowledge. You know what I'm saying? And that's being passed down a long way before. Mm-hmm.
They know. Well, this is a real secretive organization. Like they want to keep us dead. Isn't that what the 10% is about? They know they're not the knowledge.
Indeed, but a lot
trying to keep us mentally dead.
People learn this stuff, but a lot of the differences is because these secret societies are learning things about the structure, but they're not learning things with understanding. So they're not seeing the whole scope as a lived reality. Just something that they get. So it's no matter what, distance. And it's not applied the way we're applying it. You know what I mean? Oh, so there's only a certain amount of people that know stuff? Well, I earned it. So I deserve to be the only one that knows it. They don't see this as wrong. See? But one of the things about keeping knowledge to yourself, though, is that you actually stagnate it.
I was just going to say that you don't get no more.
Right. You actually stagnate it. It's not that you can't get more knowledge. But knowledge doesn't live just with other knowledge. Knowledge needs to live by being activated. utilize.
Manifest the flow.
I don't want to say types of knowledge, but we could describe knowledge as an actual fact of truth, but also the true and real idea created and manifested, right? The idea, the original idea. When you create, that is a true bit of knowledge that is being manifested and lived out and created. When knowledge is kept to yourself, it doesn't interact in the way that it's supposed to. It's like it's damned, and it doesn't have that fruition. When did we see great civilizations? Things were dammed up. The Moors found this information when they were able to analyze what the Greeks had written of what ancient Kemet was when they took it over from Alexandria, right? And they analyzed what was left, what was not burnt, was not destroyed, and made the civilization they made. And what's so remarkable is that they added to things architecturally that were not in existence in Kemet. By dealing with different things, like different type of ciphers, like a lot of the Moorish architecture is focused on ciphers, circles, and stuff like that. So they changed like the geometry focus, right? Which is incredible, right? That's what I mean by it has to go living, it has to be shared, it has to be used, it has to be interacted, That's how the fountain of knowledge works, though, Look at, we're talking about music so much today. No one that made all this great music in the 70s, right? Which is really the mind for hip hop, right? None of them knew that it could be reused again and made into just original compositions again, that are kind of not as creative as what they did, but so much more creative in so many different ways, different ways, right? In a totally different way, right? Who would know that? But the knowledge, if we look at it like knowledge, the knowledge of the creation, and that got to flow freely, and others get to see the knowledge of the creation, then that flows freely. That's really the interaction between knowledge, the knowledge of this man, the knowledge of this man, becoming a way, right? A way of interaction, a way of life, right? It's how you see things. But knowledge is like it's like, to be Bruce Lee, it's like water, right? It has to flow. It could flow or it could crash, right? But it shouldn't be dammed up, Seven, you said when kept to self, knowledge never passes through the process of wisdom. Thereby, one's knowledge is never known and becomes a belief. Exactly. With that said, hopefully we are passing the knowledge and not things that we think are good, right? Or what we believe, though. And on that note, email me so we can build. We can continue to add on.
You got that Bruce Lee book?
I have many Bruce Lee books.
I definitely got it.
All right. So until next time, I will say peace.
Peace.
Peace to the God.
All right.
Peace.
What,